the tiniest amount of fucking self-preservation, bro. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for much. Just, like, pretend to care about not being murdered by a psychopath. Y'all motherfuckers couldn't go to Domino's? Yes, all the guys are in the living room with their backs to us and they're facing the TV. Oh my god, I just remembered why I screenshot this. Sorry. Oh my god, okay. Oh, Jesus Christ. Thank you for clicking on this video. This is Read, Rant, Review, where, you guessed it, I read books and I do rant reviews. My name is Kaylee. Today we're going to be talking about a Colleen Hoover book. A Colleen Hoover book that involves a love triangle, a surprise pregnancy, an abusive main male character, and a not like other girls main female character who inevitably has a really awkward, cringy inside joke with one of the main male characters that gets used a little too often and at really weird times. So today we're reviewing, no, not that. No, not that one either, or any of those. Today we're reviewing Too Late by Colleen Hoover. This book was published in 2016, which is the same year that It Ends With Us was published. In case you haven't heard about it at all, it's about Sloane, who is our main female character, who is dating an abusive drug dealer named Asa. She falls in love with the undercover cop who is there to bust Asa. The drama. If Colleen Hoover does anything, she has good premises to stories. Very good, interesting, like, points of drama. It's just poorly executed. The book actually started in 2012, though, where she would work on it chapter by chapter to help her work through writer's block, and she shared these chapters with her audience to receive feedback, and she kind of built this book with the community and with their feedback in mind. Some people refer to it as her, like, AO3 book that should have stayed on AO3 or Wattpad or whatever, which is pretty funny. But, so she wrote it for that 4-year period of time, which, to be honest, I think coincides with when she was writing It Ends With Us, that was also published in 2016. To be very, very frank, I think some of the scenes from It Ends With Us and from Too Late could be interchangeable. Or maybe one inspired the other, or one was on the cutting room floor of the other book. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But she does note in the beginning of this that this is hard to stomach and to proceed with caution. That this is her darkest book. And it is, bro. I cannot express that to you enough, how, like, unsettling this book is, and we'll get to that in a second. And the other reason that you may not have heard about this particular one is I found a Forbes list, and this was ranked book 26 of 26 of hers. They didn't say the criteria for the ranking, and I'll link it below in the description box, but it was ranked as her lowest ranked book. And then when looking at her Goodreads, this only has 380,000 reviews with a rating of 4.03, so it is one of her lesser reviewed books, which is disgusting to say about 380,000 reviews, but it is one of her maybe lesser known, less popular, whatever books. This is what we're unpacking today. With that being said, I do want to give a quick trigger warning. So in the beginning, Colleen Hoover provides a trigger warning. She says, foul language, graphic sexual scenes, murder, sexual assault, and drug use. And I want to emphasize so much to you, the sheer volume of assault that happens, both physical and sexual, against the main character. It is like incessant, dude, and it is a lot, and I feel like it's done to be edgy and cool, and like whatever this motion is in words of like, I'm so dark and mysterious, versus it serving an actual purpose, which I will discuss a little bit later and do more of a breakdown of what I mean when I say that. But it just feels like it's done to be done. I say that as somebody who enjoys dark romance and who has read like 25 dark romance novels in the last year. I get it, and I get the appeal of reading dark things and more explicit, edgy things, and I don't think that this is well done or serves a purpose comparatively. Like, it was just hard to read just to be hard to read. I'm just repeating myself at this point, but that's how it feels. That to say, dude, if you protect your peace, like if you want to skip this video, I totally feel you. I will do trigger warnings once if I talk about something more explicitly. I try to skim over a lot of it though, because again, it's just rough, but it is rough. So I implore you to protect your peace and click off if you need to, and I support you, and like no hard feelings here, okay? And then lastly, of course, my final disclaimer before we get into this godforsaken book, this review is obviously not for Colleen Hoover or like stans of hers or family or friends of hers. I will be talking negatively about Colleen Hoover. Sorry. We'll unpack why later. Also, like, just respect differing opinions, okay? Like, if you like this book, I love that so much for you, bestie. That's so cool. I don't. So if you can't handle that or handle criticism of something that you like, I'll see you in the next one when we have similar opinions. And then obviously this is going to contain all the spoilers. Like, I'm literally going to be doing like beat by beat plot breakdown and plot discussion and book discussion, blah, blah, blah. With that being said, my friends, are you ready for Too Late by Colleen Hoover? Okay, also, I lied. So, to start this, though, this was the first Colleen Hoover book that I read, like, physically. The other books that I've heard, I listened to other people doing book reviews or, like, the super, super long book breakdowns, like what I'm about to do for this. So, I didn't realize that most of her chapters are only, like, 2 or 3 pages long. Like, this is incredibly short chapters, which I think feeds into people enjoying it and, like, speeding through her books, because it's so tangible, like short, straightforward sentences and very short, straightforward chapters, very, very short chapters. And so I get why it's appealing to the masses, and I don't say that in a negative way by any means. It is just like she knows what to do to be a commercial success, right? There's certain formulas to go that like will appeal to the masses, and she fucking nailed it. We start our book with our main female character, Salone. She's 20 years old. She's going into her junior year of college. I believe it's her second week at the university. And she's complaining about how tired she is. And she gets awoken by her boyfriend, Asa, crawling on top of her in the middle of the night to really assault her. She assures us, though, that he's never mean or forceful about it. He's just needy and it's inconvenient. And my first note on the first page of the book, Jesus Christ, what a way to start a book, and I stand by it. What a terrible way to start the book. She goes on to say that he loves her, like he really does love her, and she loves him too, and you know, she would leave him in a heartbeat if she could, saying that she has one more year of pure hell before she graduates and is free. Welcome to chapter 1, baby. Let's get started. Chapter 2, we are introduced to the POV of Carter. Carter is an undercover agent who is 25 years old. He graduated 3 years ago. It doesn't really say how long he's been an undercover police officer for, but I assume 3 years, like since he got out of college, which is not very long, and I feel like not protocol. Right? I don't know how police work, but that just seems weird. And as we go on to learn, he's the worst undercover police agent ever. So we open with him, and he's complaining to his partner, Dalton. And Dalton and Carter are their undercover names, by the way. Those names will change later in the book. We'll get there. So Carter is bitching to Dalton, his boss, that he just graduated college and he shouldn't have to be doing homework. He doesn't want to be going to class. Like, this isn't what he signed up for. He's undercover at the university to try and bust a drug dealer, that drug dealer being Asa, as we'll come to find out. And so Dalton says, suck it up, cowboy. That's your assignment. Go find a hot piece of ass to sit next to in Spanish class, which is what he does. Carter hangs up the phone and he goes and sits next to a hot piece of ass. Can you imagine who it is? He throws his phone on the desk. She wakes up. She has drool from her lip to her chin, and she looks like she has never slept. Her hair's still wet, and he gives her an energy drink that she chugs. While she's chugging this energy drink like it's the last sip of anything she'll have for the rest of her life, he thinks to himself, I'm not gonna lie, her unkempt, sloppily sexy demeanor is major turn on in a weird way. Okay. Yeah, I'm done, dude. I was already done. I was done on the first chapter for a different reason. Now I'm done for a second reason. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Class goes on. They do the usual introductions, you know, get to know your neighbor. In the middle of the get to know your neighbor activity, Dalton texts Carter and says, does the hot piece of ass have a name, in reference to Salone? She sees it. She giggles. She's flattered. There's flirting. There's banter. They hit it off. And then she introduces herself. She's like, yeah, I'm the hot piece of ass. I'm Salone. And they go to shake hands. And this fucking weirdo, when he shakes her hand, he notices a scar on her thumb, and so he twists her hand back and forth to inspect it. He doesn't like say anything about it. My guy, if I went and shook somebody's hand and they did, Ew. 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 Immediately, though, we are introduced to the cringy inside joke that I mentioned earlier. As they're in class and the teacher's rambling on and she's taking notes in her notebook, he looks over and she's writing a bunch of gibberish. Like, he has no idea what she's writing, and so he asks her about it. And she says that it's a game that she plays when she's bored. She'll empty her mind and she'll write whatever comes to it. The more nonsensical, the better. They play it back and forth a bit, and he falls in love. He says, "Oh my god, my manic pixie dream girl. She's so quirky." She's so quirky. She's like so weird. She's the love of my life, is pretty much what happens, which I hate, by the way. I hate insta love, insta romance stuff. It makes me so angry. So I love it when it's like a book about monsters or like, you know what I mean? Give me like a fantastical romance of some sort, or like a supernatural romance, and I'll believe it. But just some guy magically falling in love with you because you have one quirky thing about you is horrifying. 500 Days of Summer, I think, ruined the brain chemistry of an entire generation, and I say that as somebody who absolutely was obsessed and still loves Zooey Deschanel. But I think it completely ruined a lot of people and their perception of themselves. Anyway, some of the sentences, I'm going to read them to you, okay? He looks over, sees her notebook. It says, "Trains and buses stole my shoes, and now I have to eat raw squid." And that made him fall in love with her. So they go back writing back and forth. "I dropped a can of corn down the laundry chute, and now my mother cries rainbows." And he says, "Where the hell did this girl come from? And where the hell has she been all my life? I curse the fact that whatever just happened between us is all that could ever happen. Relationships never begin well with lies, especially lies like mine." Ew. Ew, 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 ew. Ew, ew, ew. Bad start. Cut to chapter 3. Right? Chapter 1, chapter 2. Pretty quick, pretty easy, whatever. Sloane goes home. After class. Actually, she goes to the library because she can't study at home because, drumroll please, Ace is a drug dealer and having people over all the time to do and sell and party and like whatever, all this stuff. So she has to go to the library, she has to go to the park, she stays at school to study and get things done. And in chapter 3, we learn that it wasn't always this way. Like, the first year of their relationship was really good, and then when she tried to leave him because of some mysterious event and she had to come back, she was stuck with Asa. And so once she was stuck with him, he started to not hide it anymore. And it just got worse and worse, and there was nothing that she could do about it. But we also learn why she was stuck with him. When she tried to leave 2 years ago, her brother, who, and I quote, was born with a lot of issues, both mentally and physically, lost the state funding for the care and housing that he was in, and she couldn't afford it. It's like thousands of dollars a month. She tries to leave Asa, brother loses funding, she has to move back in with Asa, so Asa will pay for her brother's housing and care. She's super unhappy, she knows that Asa sucks, she knows that, she hates her life, but she feels like she has no choice, and so she keeps pretending. She keeps pretending to be in this relationship, pretending to be happy, until she graduates college and is able to have a job where she can pay for her brother's housing or like take care of him or whatever. And so she's reflecting on all of this while she's cleaning, and she's dancing to the song Jesse's Girl. And she's reflecting on how much she loves cleaning and it's soothing, and the house is always a pigsty. Nobody helps her and she's the only one that ever cleans. And as she's doing all of this, Asa comes up and he wraps his arms around her and they sway, and she's so happy because this is like the old Asa. And so she turns to kiss him and he says, "Not in front of company, babe." And she's like, "What company?" And it's Carter. And Carter is standing there, and she's so embarrassed because A, oh my god, I was just flirting with you and you just saw me make out with my like boyfriend, and B, she thought that Carter was a different guy. You know, she was really disappointed. She didn't expect to see Carter there. She thought he was better than that. She knew the guy for all the 50 minutes in a Spanish class once, but she knew he was better, and she's so disappointed that he would be just like Asa. So it's so fucking dramatic, dude. Asa tells her to go upstairs. He's like, "Hey babe, we got business to do. Gon' get." And she pushes back because she's like, "Rah, rah, rah." I think she's just trying to flex in front of Carter. Asa, trigger warning, comes up to her, whispers at her. He's like rubbing her arms up and down. Oops, sorry. He's rubbing her arms up and down, and then he like grabs her so hard that it leaves fingerprints, and like threatens her and tells her to go upstairs and put on some lingerie, which she does. Cut to chapter 4. Carter. We learn that Asa has hired Carter to be like the translator for this like drug ring that he's running to try and cut out one of the middlemen and just go directly to the supplier. So I guess that's why he was in Spanish class with her, just kind of relevant, and also explains why he was so good at Spanish in the class. He and Dalton have a conversation about how close they are to nailing Asa, but Dalton calls Carter his real government name, Luke. Dalton, the lead undercover agent, already fucks up and calls his subordinate the wrong name, his government name. What? Okay. I said, I don't know anything about cops or undercover work, but that shit don't seem right. So anyway, they're partying at the house in celebration of Carter joining the team. Carter's getting sloshed. He's getting hammered. Asa just keeps throwing him drinks and introducing him to people, and eventually Carter escapes upstairs to like try and sober up and like fill his beer bottle with water and wash his face and try and play it off and like whatever. And as he leaves the bathroom, he runs into Salone. So upstairs there's a bathroom and there's their bedroom, like Asa and Salone's bedroom, and it like faces each other. And so it's relevant, I promise. So he comes out of the bathroom, she comes out of the bedroom in the doorway, and they're staring at each other. She's in her red lingerie, by the way. Keep this in mind. She's all sexified and he's all drunk, and they like end up walking up to each other. You know, she looks like she's been crying and she's having like a weird attitude about this whole like, I thought you were better than that. And they're like chest to chest, and she's like, I can't believe you're involved in this. He thinks to himself, this girl is off limits. Asa made that clear. My career made that clear. But why can't I see it clearly? And luckily for his dumb, Dalton comes up the stairs and he's like, what the dude, it's day one, you're fucking this up, blah 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 blah, and breaks it up, whatever. But I'm like, bro, again, day one he already called you Luke, and day one you're already falling head over heels for some broad, no offense, you don't even know her. What is happening? Whoa. Like, I hate insta love because it makes no sense, and especially like for police, y'all are trained for this. What are we doing? Literally, what are we doing? Chapter 5, and my opening note on this one was, I literally do not care about reading from the POV of a straight up abuser. Like, I'm not gonna like him. I'm not gonna take pity on him, Colleen. You're not gonna convince me to like shed any emotion for this man. He's gross. Boy howdy, that was an understatement of the year. I had no idea what I was getting into. Even rereading this part, it makes me feel a little queasy, to be honest. Which again, she said that this book was, right? She gave the trigger warning, she gave a heads up, she said all of that. It is what it is, right? I'm not mad about it because she gave a heads up about it. However, I'm just not a fan of it, and again, I don't feel like it serves a purpose, so it just feels so icky. I don't know how to explain it. I'm okay with feeling icky when there's a greater good. I'm okay with feeling uncomfortable with something if it's to further a plot or to further a character development, or ultimately results in like the main female character or the main whoever character that's facing this abuse results in them evolving or like becoming something greater or better or like whatever that they desire. And I don't feel like that's happening in this book. It just feels like abuse to be abused. His chapter opens with him snorting something, right? And he says, I motioned to John to come and get the tray. So he walks over to the bed and picks it up. You want me to close the deal? He asks. I'm still staring at his girlfriend when I say, yeah, you go do that. John reaches for Jess's hand, but I interrupt him. Go alone. I'll keep Jess company. John stares at me like he doesn't understand instructions. Jess is looking back and forth between us. Go. Close the deal. She'll be here when you get back. John leaves, but he slams the door as he goes. I hop off the bed and lock it. Jess pushes up on the mattress, looking at me with two eyes full of concern, or maybe that's anticipation. I smile gently at her, wanting her to feel at ease with me. And then it goes where you think the scene's about to go, until Salone comes banging on the door and tells him to open it up, and he shoos Jess away to hide in the closet, and Salone comes in angry and upset because she thinks or slash knows that he's doing drugs. He plays it off, and he sees bruises on her arms that he gave her, and he says ew, that's even worse. He sees the bruises that he gave her, the fingerprints, and he says, sometimes I forget how fragile your skin is, and then he kisses them. And then she pushes him away. She pushes him away in that she's going to shower. That gives him the perfect excuse that he needed. So he tells her to go take a long one and get pretty. He's going to take her on a date. And then when she goes to the bathroom, he kicks Jess out and acts like nothing happened. And it's just icky. We cut to Salone's perspective. It's the next day. Salone's on her way to Spanish class. Asa bailed on their date, unsurprisingly, and came home at 3 a.m. and assaulted her like usual before passing out. She says, and this happens a lot, obviously this whole assault thing, but also her crying. I don't think I mentioned it earlier, so I'll do it now. I'll put up like the little curse counter. I believe the F-bomb is used like hundreds of times. This is, again, 360 or 370 page book. The amount of cursing is used so excessively, and it's so excessively only in Asa's chapters, which again are like less than a third of them. She's crying. She's welling up with tears. A rogue tear goes down her cheek. She's overwhelmed with this sad emotion of some sort. Like every fifth page is about how depressed she is about her life in this situation and like her being abused in some way. And it's just sad, bro. Trigger warning for real. Skip 30 seconds if you need to. She says, I cried the entire time he was on top of me. Me like he didn't give a shit who was under him, as long as someone was under him. When he finished, he rolled over and fell asleep without a single word. Not an apology, not a thank you, not an I love you. He just rolled over and fell right asleep without a single thing on his conscience. I rolled over and continued to cry. So then she goes to class. She doesn't want to sit by Carter because she's angry at him for not being any better than Asa, and she's just embarrassed by it all, and so she sits in a different row. He moves to sit next to her. I'm not going to pass any judgment, or I'm not going to place any judgment on the following portrayal and discussion, but I'm going to read it to you verbatim, and you come to your own conclusions. You're in my seat, a flat monotone voice says. Carter and I both look up to see a guy standing in front of us, staring down at Carter with an indifferent expression. I was just moving, man, Carter says, pulling his backpack onto the table. You should have never sat there in the first place, the guy says. I sit there. The guy turns to me and extends his arm straight out, pointing at me, and you don't sit right there. A different girl sat there Monday, so you can't sit there. The guy's expression is troubled. He's terribly disturbed that we're in different seats today, and I feel sorry for him. Recognizing features of one of my brothers when I look at him, I start to tell him we'll move, that he can have a seat, but Carter's anger intercepts my response, and he stands up. Get your finger out of her face, he says to the guy. Get out of my seat, the guy replies, turning his attention to Carter. Carter laughs and drops the backpack on the floor. Dude, he says, what is this, kindergarten? Go find your own fucking seat. The guy drops his arms and looks at Carter in shock. He starts to reply but snaps his mouth shut and walks towards the back row defeated. But that's my seat, he mumbles, walking away. Carter pulls his notebooks out of his backpack and sets it on the table in front of him. I guess you're stuck with me, he says. No way I'm moving seats now. I shake my head and lean toward him. Carter, give him a break. I think he's on the autism spectrum and he can't help it. Carter snaps his head in my direction. No shit, are you serious? Yeah, my brother had autism. I know the signs. He runs his hands over his face. Shit, he groans. He quickly stands up, reaching for my hand when he does. Get your stuff, he says, pointing to my backpack and notebook. He turns around and throws his stuff on the table behind him and then reaches for my backpack and does the same. He looks up at the guy and points to the seats we were just occupying. Sorry, man, I didn't realize they were your seats. We'll move. The guy quickly walks back to the row that we're in and claims his seat before Carter changes his mind. Realizing most of the class is probably watching the commotion between the three of us, I still can't help but smile. I love that he just did that. Again, I will not pass judgment. That is not my place, right? Not my place. So do with that what you will. The class starts and they're passing their little notes back and forth, and eventually it turns into the word salad game. One of them says pizza, the other one says pizza sounds delicious, and they decide that they're going to get pizza after class. This is the beginning of a constant frustration that is about to happen. She knows and he knows, and they both acknowledge that them, talking or hanging out, or in this instance, getting pizza is a horrible decision, but they do it anyway. And then they're surprised when there's consequences. They keep fucking around and keep finding out and keep acting surprised, and it pisses me off so much. I hate it so much. So they go to lunch after class. Carter drives, and he's thinking to himself that pulling away from the college with her alone in my car feels almost like playing a game of Russian roulette. My pulse is racing and my mouth is dry, knowing my being with her is a potential career suicide, not to mention what would happen if Asa found out. I wipe him from my mind and I look over at her, deciding that this may very well be my last day. Ew. As they're driving over, she reveals that she has no money. She doesn't want Asa's dirty money, so she doesn't take money from him, and so she's like trying to save up so that she can move out and stuff. She doesn't have a job. She was working on campus, but this semester it's not available, so she's just vibing, I guess. I don't know how she's getting money. So he tries to lighten the convo and asks about her brother. Oh my god, I forgot about this. This is so bad. Earlier, when they were in the classroom and they were talking to the guy, she said that her brother had autism. So when they're driving to the pizza place, Carter's trying to make small talk. He's trying to be nice, and he's like, oh, like, there's a cure for autism? You said your brother had it. And she says, no, my brother who had autism is dead. Sorry. And then she has another brother that was born with a lot of issues, both mentally and physically, is the one that is in the home care. And I was like, holy, that's so awkward. That's so bad. Oh my god, I would die. I would die. I would die. Cut the awkward conversation, bro. The next chapter, we actually cut to Asa's perspective. This motherfucker's tracking her phone. And so he sees that she's not on campus, and he gets pissed instantly. He's like, this whore. My dad was right. All women are whores. She's cheating on me. I can't believe this. But also, she'd never cheat on me because I'm all that she has. And so he tells John, who's like one of his best friends, about this. And John's like, you want me to go up there? And he says, no, they're not going to make it in time. But John does Google it, and they're at a place called Mi Amor. So you're telling me, you fucking dipshits. Of all places for y'all to go to lunch to, you drive off campus to go to an Italian place for pizza called Mi Amor? Y'all motherfuckers couldn't go to Domino's? You're gonna go to a place called Mi Amor and you're gonna act like that's not a date? You're gonna try and play it off like you're not stupid? I don't want to hear it. That's so fucking dumb. Red flag 87 of frustration with this book, and we're only on chapter 9. Asa knows that they're on their date. Back to the date. He holds her hand. They walk into the restaurant. Salone and Carter walk into the restaurant. Carter holds her hand as they walk through the place. For no reason. There's awkward flirty banter once they're at the table. She's upset because he's being so nice, and it doesn't make sense why he would be nice to her. And she's angry that he acts like this and keeps getting her hopes up, but he's friends with Asa, and it's such a conflicting feeling, and she's so angry. And so he smiles at her. She says, don't smile at me. And he says, you don't want me to smile at you? He asks, a confused expression strewn across his face. No, I don't. I don't want you to smile at me like you like me. I don't want you to sit next to me in class. I don't want you to hold my hand. I don't want you to flirt with me. I don't even want you to buy me lunch, but I'm too hungry to really care about that one right now. I bring my drink to my mouth to shut myself up. I hate that I'm being so mean to him right now, but the longer I'm putting us both at risk by being here with him, the angrier I grow at my own stupidity. Carter looks down at his glass and runs his hands up it, wiping off the condensation. You want me to be mean to you then? You want me to treat you like shit the way Asa treats you? I didn't peg you to be a doormat when we first met. I return his heated stare with just as much fury. I didn't peg you as a dealer, I snap back. We hold each other's gazes, refusing to be the one who cracks first. It's him. A smug smile spreads across his face. I guess I do have that going for me. Dealer, check. Asshole, check. You want me to treat you like shit? Seems to be doing wonders for Asa. His cruel words are the direct punch to my gut, knocking the breath out of me. Fuck you, I say through clenched teeth. No thanks. Apparently I'd have to hurt you first, and that's not my style. Ew. Ew to all of that. So then she goes to get in his car because she's like, f off, like I'm done with this. And so she storms out of the restaurant, but he unlocks the car for her, and she's so... It's so romantic of him that like she would storm away and he's not following her, but he unlocked the car so she has somewhere safe to go. So she gets in the car and she takes a nap. And then he comes out with the pizza later on. He like brings the pizza out to her, and he feels super guilty to talk to her, but he thinks to himself, but damn her, it's so fresh. That's how I read it. He talks like a fucking child. He says, but damn her, it's so frustrating. I don't know how she can be so headstrong and confident when she's with me, but on her own home, she acts like a completely different person. Then, out of the blue, she accosts me for being nice to her. What the hell? I realize some women are drawn to men like Asa. I've been in this career long enough, like 3 years. Bro, like 3 years? I've been in this career long enough to see that. I try to empathize and understand, but I can't fathom why Salone remains in a situation she's in. It's so damn painful having to sit back and watch it because I don't know what's kept her there. My guy, it's been 48 fucking hours. And you've been an undercover cop for like 3 years? And you don't even know this woman. What are we doing? Literally. Anyway, he brings the pizza in. They have an awkward drive back to campus, but she's chowing down on the slices, and she says that she can't take the leftover pizza home because Asa will wonder where she got it. Keep this in mind. He apologizes for being rude to her, and then when she goes to get in her car, he like corners her in her doorway thing and apologizes and like forces her to hear him apologize. And she's like, I've heard it before. What you said to me was more hurtful than anything Asa has ever said, and then tells him to go save someone else as she breaks down crying and drives away. This is so dramatic. Cut back to Asa again, ranting about how much of a whore that Salone is and how she's nothing without him, and how he'll take her right back to her crack whore mom if Salone is cheating on him. He's like, I'll drop her off on her doorstep. What? He says all of this, by the way, as he is SAing Jess, his best buddy's girlfriend. The only thing that like makes him finish is thinking about Salone crying and begging him to take her back. Hello? Are you okay? Am I okay? Are you okay? Is Colleen okay? After this scene, very forceful, violent, other stuff I'm not going to specify scene with this other woman, he goes downstairs and brags about what he just did to her, to all of the guys, including her boyfriend. His friend, John, right? Jess's boyfriend, John, Asa's best friend, John, asks when Asa will let him return the favor and do that to Salone. He gets all pissed off and he's like, she's not a whore. And John says, oh, really? So what was she doing at Mi Amor? And Carter, right off to the side over here, is like, holy fuck, we're fucked. Oh my god, oh shit. All the expletives. He's like, oh no. And so after John says this, though, Ace is beating the shit out of him. Carter has to pull him off. Dalton has to pull him off. Carter runs outside to go call Salone and let her know what's going on. And he calls her, almost says his government name, by the way. He calls her and he's like, hey, Salone, this is Carter. You stupid motherfuckers. We are 48 hours into this. 48 hours into this, and how many rules have we broken? How many times have you almost said your government name? I can't do it. So they come up with this brilliant plan that she's gonna grab the pizza from the back of his car, and she's gonna bring it in and just be like, oh guys, look, I have nothing to hide. Here's some leftovers. I got hungry today. Here you go. And try and play it off. She does. Crisis avoided. Things seem okay, but there's some weird glances between them that Dalton picks up on. And so he goes over to Carter and he's like, hey, I think she likes you. I don't like it, but like you need to work on that and get with her so that she can help us get more information on Asa. And Carter's thinking to himself, it's just something I'm not willing to do, but it may not be a choice that's left up to me. In literal ellipses, by the way. It's a choice that's not left up to me. ... Between the ellipses and just spelling out the plot like that, all I could do was roll my eyes and groan. I was like, way to leave room for tension. Why did you have to say that? Why did you have to have that sentence? Why did he have to say it's not something he's willing to do? We know that. He loves her already, apparently. He won't have a choice. Yeah, obviously that's his fucking job. Why did you have to tell me that? Am I fucking dumb? I don't think so. I don't think I'm dumb. And I'm offended that you think I'm dumb. Colleen Hoover, not you, viewer. If you think I'm dumb, click off my video. That's rude. Okay? Cut to Salone. Asa takes Salone to their room and makes her... Okay, so... after this whole pizza scene and this whole recovery and him, I guess, coming down from the anger of him thinking that she cheated on him, he drags her upstairs to have a moment together, but he is like making her tell him that she loves him and she will never leave him repeatedly. The next one, Carter goes inside and he hears them having this scene and he just like freezes in the kitchen until they're done, which is very weird and creepy and disconcerting. There's a whiteboard on the refrigerator and he writes a message on it, and as he's finishing, Asa comes downstairs to get a snack and they talk about work, and Asa wants to use Carter as the translator, like I said earlier, and he goes on to talk about how he doesn't trust anyone, especially whores, but Salone has earned his trust, primarily because he admits she's all that she has, so obviously she's not going to do anything. Salone comes downstairs, Asa's groping her while staring at Carter. There's some weird assertion going on, like alpha male shit. Carter gets super uncomfortable and goes outside to get some work done, but he ends up aimlessly driving around being a sad boy for hours. As he's going back to the house after his sad boy drive, he ends up driving by the park and he sees Sloan at a park bench and he decides to stop. They are 2 blocks from the house, walking distance from the house, and he parks across the street, walks over to her, and sits with her at this park bench. This is a reoccurring thing where he like pushes her for more and more information. I drop my pencil on the table and I turn to face him. He's always pushing for more truth, always wanting to know what the hell I'm thinking. I take a deep breath and prepare to answer all of the questions he's ever asked, and even ones he hasn't got around to asking yet. Yes, I'm fine. I'm not great. I'm not terrible. I'm just fine. I'm fine because I have a roof over my head and a boyfriend who loves me despite the fact he makes bad choices. Do I wish he were a better person? Yes. If I had the means, would I leave him? Yes, absolutely. Do I wish there wasn't so much constantly going on in my house that I could actually find a quiet place to do homework or, heaven forbid, get some sleep? Hell yes. Do I wish I could graduate sooner to get out of this mess? Yes. Am I embarrassed by the way Asa treats me? Yes. Do I wish you weren't part of this? Yes. Do I wish that you could be the guy I thought that you were the first time that I met you in class? Yes. Do I wish you could save me? I let out a short, defeated sigh and looked down at my hands. Yes. She's crying a little bit, right? She blinks back tears and she says, I left him once. It was in the beginning when I found out how he was making his money. I didn't have anywhere to go, but I left him because I knew I deserved better. I had 2 younger brothers growing up. They were born when I was only 2, twins. Drew died when he was 10. The other, Steven, needs a lot of care. Care I can't provide on my own if I want to build a good life for us. When he turned 16, he was able to be approved for a group facility where he'd be able to live and have 24-hour care, and I could go to college and make a better life for us. Things were great until a few weeks after I decided to break up with Asa. Steven's funding was pulled by the state, and I had no place for us to live, no place to care for him. My only other option was paying the fee out of pocket, which is thousands of dollars per month. I couldn't afford it. The last thing I wanted was for him to be forced to move back in with my mother. I didn't know where else to turn. When Asa offered to pay for Steven's care if I would give him another chance, I couldn't say no. I moved back in with him, and now I'm forced to pretend that he's enough for me. I pretend to turn a blind eye to the awful things that he does, and in turn he sends a check every month to pay for Steven's expenses, and that's why I'm still here at Carter, because I have no other choice. This is a reoccurring theme where she has this discussion with herself of like only being with Asa for money and how that makes her feel like a whore. And the word whore is used constantly throughout this book. Just want to be clear, written in 2016, that was very common back then. I say back then, but you know what I mean. 8 years ago is a long time. Carter gives an appropriate response. He says, I respect what you're doing for your brother Sloan, but what good are you going to be to him if you end up dead? That house isn't safe for you. Asa isn't safe for you. I sigh and wipe away a rogue tear. I do what I'm able to. I can't afford to worry about the what ifs. And then she keeps crying and he wipes away her tears and he pulls her in and holds her as she sobs until it gets dark outside, bro. 2 blocks from the house. Carter reflects on the situation. He gets up to leave and he's realizing what a horrible idea this is. That what he's doing is making things worse because she's right and he can't save her and he's giving her hope and he's pushing the limits and he's potentially putting her at more risk. But then he immediately starts thinking about kissing her. There's no sense of self-preservation. Jesus Christ. So he just goes back to the house, and to not be suspicious, he goes, and then Sloan will come 40 minutes later or whatever. But he gets there, and Asa's staring at him very, very hard, because Asa's suspicious as fuck. This is a brand new guy on his team, and there's just some weird stuff going on. 40 minutes later, though, Sloan shows up to the house. She repeats everything that we just heard and how she can't leave and she's stuck and she's sad, which she is, right? Valid. I'm not victim blaming. I'm not trying to downplay that. Whatever, respect if you're in a similar situation. Resources and stuff in the description box below. If any of this rings a bell to you or seems familiar to you in any way, I will have resources below. You are strong and I have faith in you and you can get out of that relationship and you deserve better, okay? I'm not in any way victim blaming. I'm not in any way trying to make fun of people who are in these situations in real life. I feel you. I respect you. I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that, and you can move on and have better and be loved better, okay? You don't deserve the situation that you're in, okay? Just had to say that, okay? So she's reflecting on all this and how sad she is. She goes to the kitchen to get some food and drink before bed, and she looks and she notices on the whiteboard on the fridge there's a note. It's the note that Carter wrote earlier, and the note reads, "Worries flow from her lips like the random words that flow from her fingertips. I reach out to try to catch them, clenching them in my fists, wanting nothing more than to catch them all." Two things. Are you trying to get fucking caught? Who the fuck writes that on a whiteboard? A communal whiteboard. What are we doing? Again, literally, what are we doing? And then no one else is gonna notice how weird that is? Literally? Like, you're just writing that to, like, Salone, and you're gonna act like her boyfriend or the 15 other fucking people in the house aren't gonna read that and be like, WTF? Also, how big is this whiteboard? That's a lot of words, bro. She erases his message and she writes her own. She's also probably so stupid and gonna get them caught, and it's just irritating. This whole book was just irritating. What like a cool premise, what like an interesting premise. This could have been such a cool book. They could have done so much for people who find themselves in abusive situations. It could have been fascinating, it could have been a thriller, it could have been knowledgeable, it could have been informative, it could have been mysterious and tension building and all of these things, and instead it's just mediocre and traumatizing for no reason. It took us until 23% of the book until we get an Asa bad guy flashback to his childhood trauma that will somehow humanize him and make us feel bad for him. It's from his POV as a child, and it's just his dad abusing his mom and telling him not to trust anyone, especially whores. Again, that word gets used so often. I'm gonna do a little counter, I'll throw it up here, of how many times the word whore is used in this book, because it's a lot. And I don't like saying that word. That feels like a very inappropriate, dirty word to say. I think this really speaks to the era that this book was written in, of when that word was used more commonly and regularly, circa 8 years ago, 2016 versus 2024. Then we learn that his father killed his mother, and now his dad's in prison for it. And again, we hear all of this backstory, all of this ranting from him as he's injecting something that I can't say. And I don't know the street names for any drugs because I'm square, so I don't know. He's injecting while Asa's doing all of that. Sloane's downstairs writing Carter a note, like a love letter, on the biggest kitchen whiteboard in existence. Carter is outside by the pool in the backyard, just staring at the house like a freak, watching through the windows until he sees that Salone goes upstairs. He goes into the kitchen. He sees her new message on the whiteboard, and it says, "He unclenched his fists and dropped her worries, unable to catch them for her. But she picked them back up and dusted them off. She wants to be able to hold them herself now." Again, how fucking big is this whiteboard, bro? And again, how stupid are they? It's like literally so infuriating. Can we at least pretend to make one aspect of the story believable? Can we at least have some nuance, have some tension, have some mystery, have something, anything, bro, anything? I would settle for anything at this moment other than just blatant, obvious stupidity. Unsurprisingly, Salone goes upstairs and finds Asa passed out from the injection of things, and she goes back downstairs crying, and she runs into Carter in the kitchen, reading her note, and she says that she hates Asa, that he's using again, and he gets paranoid, and when he does, it's bad for everybody. He tells her how strong she is and how, she's smarter and better than all of them, and he apologizes again for what he said at the pizza place, and I still can't believe that it's the same day. I personally can still not believe that this is the same fucking 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever. As they're about to kiss, they're apologizing, they're reminiscing, they're bonding, they're whatever. As they're about to smooch, John walks in from outside. He notices it. Carter tries to play it off. She tries to play it off, but it's very, very obvious what just happened. So Carter's alternative is to just bolt. He just goes back outside. And so now John is alone with Sloane. And again, just as a reminder, I said it before, but I'll say it again for all my ADHD girlies. John is Asa's like best friend. John is dating Jess, who Asa is SAing constantly and bragging about to John himself, right? Like there's some weird relationship dynamics. And so John, seeing that Sloane is alone, I'm not going to detail it, but he decides that he is going to do to Sloane what Asa has done to his girlfriend Jess. He pulls a knife on her and he begins to do these things to her. And just before he does, Carter comes in with a Glock to the head and he says, apologize to Sloane. I said this in the Lucy score, things we never get over. I love when abusers get abused. Yeah. Pistol whip him. Yes. Threaten his life. He's a piece of shit. I don't care. Can kill him. That might be controversial. I don't care. So Carter walks in. He says, apologize. He says, apologize to Sloane, makes him promise. He's like, hey, we both have things that we want to hide from Asa, and we're going to keep it a secret. He agrees, and then he pistol whips him. Dude passes out on the couch. Carter says, Sloane, go upstairs, go be with Asa. Like, you're safer up there, and then when he wakes up, like, you'll be there, whatever. She goes upstairs. Asa wakes up at 4:30 a.m. and has the following discussion with himself that I think simultaneously shows his delusions, as well as shows Colleen Hoover's lack of faith in her readers' ability to critically think. I give myself a minute to adjust in the darkness until I can see her really well. Then I roll over on my side and I watch her sleep. She sleeps on her back now, never on her side, never on her stomach. When I was a kid, my dad always slept on his back, even when he'd pass out on the couch from whatever substance he was abusing that day. I asked him why he slept like that once, and he said, when you sleep on your back, you're prepared for anything. It's easier to wake up and protect yourself. If you get too comfortable, you're left off guard. It makes me wonder if Sloane sleeps on her back as a protective method, then it makes me wonder if she sleeps on her back to protect herself from me. No, she doesn't fear me like that. She fucking worships me. She used to sleep on her stomach though. Maybe I just need to buy a new mattress. Maybe she just doesn't like this bed. And then we get a detailed explanation on how Asa used women for pleasure exclusively before he met Sloane. He never saw the point of talking or dealing with a woman before 8 a.m. or after 8 p.m. But Sloane, not being interested in him, made him chase her. And he says, I need to ensure she never goes anywhere. I need to make her part of my life permanently. I could marry her. I could buy her a house, or one where it could just be the two of us. Of course, I'd be in this house between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. since I seem to be the only one who knows how to properly operate things around here, but Sloane could be at the home. We would share together, growing babies. When I came home at night, she could feed me, we'd make love, I'd sleep with her by my side, and she'd sleep on her stomach. I'd never thought about marriage before. I wonder why this brilliant idea is just now coming to me. And then he goes to talk about sabotaging her birth control, and as this plan is coming together in his mind, he leans over to touch her, to like start something with her, and thinking about marrying her and having babies and buying her a house. And when he goes to touch her, she says, Carter? And he loses his mind. He starts choking her. He gets on top of her. He's gonna kill her. Eventually, she's able to convince him that she said harder. Harder, not Carter, and that he's just being paranoid. She course corrects. She's making moves on him. She's trying to turn him on, and she's saying Asa a lot. It turns out she may have played this part a little bit too well, because he proposes to her like mid-act. This psychopath proposes to her, and she says yes, because like obviously I don't know what the fuck else you could really say in this situation. And then the comment about sleeping on her stomach is brought up again. And I'm like, dude, I get it. I promise you, you explained it. Saying the phrase 4 times in the course of a single chapter is exhausting. At least rephrase it or paint the picture, like, rather than saying it explicitly. I don't want to read the same 10 words or the same 5 words that many times in a row. He proposes to her. She says another man's name and he proposes to her. This is so messy. Chapter 22, Dalton is chewing Carter's ass for not using Salone to get more info on Asa. He's like, bro, clearly she's into you, like, you have to use her. And he's like, I can't. I can't. We also find out Dalton gave Carter that particular Spanish class on purpose. Like, they all knew that the hot piece of was going to be Salone. Carter didn't know that. Everybody else did. In this chapter, we also learned that the boys are planning to go to the casino on Sunday, and Dalton says, you need to stay back and stay with Salone. You need to stay back with her, figure more things out, we'll distract him, you have a whole day. We also learned that Sundays are the only days that Salone is allowed to go and visit her brother. These are the days that Asa allows her to use the car to drive up to the group home or like whatever the living facility situation is to go and visit Steven. Dalton tells Carter, hey, stay back, go with Salone, go visit Steven, go have some time, go learn some shit about Asa. Salone, rightfully so, is freaking the fuck out about what happened the night before. She just got proposed to by a maniac in the middle of the night after saying Carter's name in bed. And so she's in the bathroom before class and she's freaking out, like, again, equal parts about the proposal and the fact she said his name and the fact that Asa didn't use a condom. Apparently this is like the first and only time that's ever happened. She uses birth control regularly, but it's still concerning because she's like, I don't know for sure that he's ever cheated on me, but it's still concerning, so she wants to go and get tested. We know this is going to end in a surprise pregnancy, right? Like, that wouldn't just get dropped without purpose, right? Colleen Hoover drops a lot of things without purpose, but surprise pregnancies are usually, again, on the bingo card. Right? It's on the bingo card. So she goes to class after this bathroom freak out. She runs into Carter in the hallway. He pulls her into an empty classroom and they talk about the insanity of the last 12 hours. There's a lot going on. There's just a lot going on. I can't even fathom it personally right now. Even recapping this to you. Like, it's so dramatic. So they go in this and they're flirting and she's like, I have to tell you something. And he's like, what? And she's like, I said your name while I was sleeping. Turns into this like flirty banter where she's avoiding telling him about the proposal. It's so uncomfortable and she just tries to play it off. And so when they get to class, it turns out the teacher lost his voice. And so it's silent reading time. Carter puts his hand under the table and holds hands with her the entire class. And by the end of the class, he gives her a hug. Sloan, he whispers, his mouth directly over my ear. I want everything about you so goddamn much, to the point that it's blinding me. I gasp at his words. Please be careful, he says, until I can help you get out of there. I don't know when that'll be, but please be very, very careful. She thinks to herself, what I wouldn't give for those lips to be pressing against my mouth right now. How can I have this many feelings for someone I just met? For someone I haven't even kissed yet? For someone who is mostly everything I want but also involved with everything I despise? And he says, if I come to your house tonight, I'm not even going to look in your direction. But just know you're all I see. You're all I fucking see, Salone. And this is so over the top and instant love for no reason. Like I said, there's no reason for these feelings, for this justification, for these words. And like, I don't know about y'all, but like, I went to college, right? Like, I was in school, I went to grad school, I did tutoring, I was in a lot of classes. And if at the end of class, I saw 2 people in the back fucking macking on each other like that, for that, again, extended amount of time to communicate those words, and I'd be like, y'all are grody, knock it off. So, it's just over the top, and they don't know anything about each other. He only knows her trauma. And that she's a little quirky girl. Like, what are we doing? It's just so wild, and I hate it, and I don't know how anybody could ever read this and, like, take it seriously and be like, oh my god, this is so beautiful. There's no buildup. There's no logic. There's no tension. It's been less than a week. Like, there's nothing. There's nothing at all. And I just hate it so much. And I feel like nobody understands. But I'll be goddamned if that last part didn't get me. You're all I fucking see, Sloane. You're all I see. You're all I see. Oh my god. That's so cute. I hate you all, but that's really cute. That's how I feel so much about these books. I hate all of you, but that's actually, like, kind of okay. Out of context, like, this book, that's a really cute thing to say. So cut to Asa's chapter, and we learn, again, more about Asa's backstory that I don't give a about. Essentially, he went to college and he was like, this is stupid, and he learned that all the real money was in drug dealing, and so he was like, he went all edgy. This is a quote, okay? I don't deal with shit now. X, weed, pills. I especially don't with weed. It's an excess. You want weed? Buy yourself a fucking gift card to the sweet shop. Don't waste my time. But if you want the good stuff, that shit that makes you feel like you're kissing the face of the goddamn creator himself, that's when you come to me. I won't sell you the Ford, but I'll sell you the rarest fucking Bugatti you'll ever come across. Okay. So he goes on reflecting about his growth and his assets and his current crew, and he's comparing each of them to a drug, which again is like so edgy and hardcore. It's so edgy and hardcore that Colleen knows all the names of these drugs and what you would compare them to. And I'm not going to rattle them off because I would like to at least pretend that I could be monetized one day. So, like, let's not. But he says that John is cocky and he talks too much. He says Dalton is sociable and friendly, and he doesn't know how to describe Carter. But that last night when Sloane said his name, Carter was an overdose. Suddenly, in this reflection time, he remembers that he has to buy her an engagement ring, and so he rushes downstairs. He sees John with his bruised face from the pistol whipping from the night before. He asks what happened. John says nothing important, so Asa tells him that they're celebrating tonight. He needs to go and get stuff. John's like, what are we celebrating? And Asa says, I got engaged, and John laughs, and so then Asa beats the shit out of the other side of John's face. And now he's black and blue on both sides for disrespecting Sloane. In the course of like 12 hours. Assaulted, proposed, a man got beat up twice over you. There's so many black eyes. There's so many bruises. There's so many... What is happening? What is going on? What's going on? Hello? Somebody help me, please. So we cut to Carter's chapter. After class, after they have this, after he and Sloane have this hand-holding moment, Carter is walking out to his car, and he sees a text message from Asa telling him that they're gonna get lunch together. He's like, hey, I need you, like, come, let's hang out. Carter's a little freaked out by this, texts Dalton thinking he's about to get set up and get the beat out of him. It turns out Asa shows up to lunch, shows Carter the engagement ring, and is like, yeah, we got engaged last night. Like, actually, I'm not really proposing. I'm just giving her the ring, and I want you to give a toast at the party tonight. This is escalating so quickly. Like, 0 to 100 so quickly. And also, so Asa's like, yeah, Carter, you talk like a psychopath. Like, you're too smart for your own good, blah, 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 blah. You should give a toast at our thing, which really I think it's just a test, right? Like, it's just a test about their relationship that he's, like, suspicious of, but he doesn't have a reason to be suspicious of, but he feels it, so he's, like, trying to put them all in awkward situations to, like, gauge reactions, blah, blah, blah. They fall for it. Carter, obviously, without having a choice, he says, okay, yeah, totally, dude, I will give the toast. Sloane gets home eventually, and she sees the engagement ring on the dresser in their bedroom. Asa comes in, they talk about future plans, they talk about future weddings. This also sparks another, like, such a stupid thing, okay? So I'm just gonna read this. He tells her to get ready. He's like, hey, we're gonna have a celebration tonight. You get ready, get beautiful. So she's in the bathroom, she takes a shower, she's doing her hair, she's putting on this, like, slinky black dress that he picked out for her. And she says, Asa likes my hair best when it's straight. I know this because there have been a couple of times when I've put some curl in it and he asked me to redo it. The first time was right after we started dating, when he was introducing me to John and Jess for the first time. And once on our first anniversary, when we went to dinner at a restaurant, I reserved myself. He said his mother had curly hair and he prefers me to wear mine straight. I know nothing about his family other than that he doesn't have one. And that one sentence about his mother's hair is the only time he's ever mentioned her in the years that I've known him. Yet, here I am, standing in front of the mirror with the curling iron, adding curls to my hair, simply because I know Carter likes it. And even though he'll be on the opposite end of the room from me, not even looking in my direction tonight, I curl my hair for him, not my fiancé. How do you know that he likes a curl in your hair? It's been like a week. Under what context would he have ever seen it with a curl? You talked to him for like 2-3 times? You've had 2 or 3 conversations with him? You're gonna piss off your fiance and do something that like you know is like triggering, quote unquote, to him to impress a guy that like what? Huh? I feel like this is like supposed to be a dramatic moment, you know, and she thinks about, and as she's going about this, she's thinking also about meeting with her brother's social worker to see about getting his benefits back. You know, this is supposed to be like a pivot point, I guess, like in her personality or like in her character development, where she's abandoning Asa, you know, and thinking about the future and doing things different and like moving on with Carter. And as she's thinking about all of this, Asa comes in and he sees her curling her hair and nothing. He says nothing about it. He just says that she's hot and he wants to like her, you know? There's no acknowledgement of the hair curl or not, which I'm like, so why did we talk about it? Hello? Hello? What are we doing? Is it a big deal or is it not? I don't understand. And they go downstairs and Carter is gonna do the toast and he's like shooting back glasses of champagne to do this speech. As he goes through the speech, and it's very, again, just like very weird, very over the top, very try hard for a dude that they don't know each other. They don't know anything about each other. Like, why is this even a thing in the first place? You could have spaced this out over months. We could have had some time lapses. It's a 360-page book. How did you fill up 360 pages for a relationship that is less than 2 months long? It makes no goddamn sense to me. I'm not going to lie to you. You know how we filled it? We filled it with scenes of abuse, unnecessary, repetitive scenes of physical and like sexual abuse for no reason, just to get it out there. Side tangent really quick, like super quick. I understand dark romance, right? I enjoy dark romance because I enjoy relating to a main character who has been through things similar to me, right? Have been through very traumatic events that I relate to, and seeing them overcome it and seeing them learn from it. And sometimes seeing someone else go through a situation that you've been through helps you put words to it. Words and feelings that maybe you can't come up with yourself. And so you see them go through this and it helps you like recontextualize and explain your feelings about a situation, and it helps you reclaim that, feel empowered almost. And so I see the benefit of dark romance, and I see the benefit of reading these really traumatic, harrowing experiences. But in this case, what the are we doing? Like, what purpose does this serve? It's not character development. It's not for the purpose of like, hey, if you identify with this character, here's how you get out of a relationship like that. Hey, here's a lesson learned. Here's resources to overcome or get away from these situations that you may find yourself in. There's nothing like that here. There's nothing like that here. And I'm begging for a crumb, a fucking iota of give a shit from Colleen Hoover for people who have been in situations like this. And instead, it just feels so fetishized and glamorized, and there's this like really weird, I don't know how to explain it, of writing it to be edgy versus writing it to be expressive. And I know she made some comments about writing, particularly the book It Ends With Us, where she made comments about like witnessing, I think, abusive relationships like that, and how this was like an outlet of sorts. I think writing should be an outlet. Write those experiences, rewrite them, write them, figure it out, work through your feelings, put words to it, figure all of those things out. It's important to share those situations with other people so that they know that they're not alone, but there is no reason to go out and set examples for men to the mass public without course correction. How fucking dare you put that out to millions of people without a course correction or acknowledgement of, hey, just so everybody is very, 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 very clear, the things that she is saying and the justification that we are providing for this man is inappropriate and not okay. I am giving the perspective of somebody in an abusive relationship, and this is how you get out of it. Doesn't exist. So Carter, again, chugging. He's chugging champagne to get through this toast. I'm so upset by this. It makes no sense why Asa asked him to do this. It makes no sense why he's doing this. Just fucking lie to me. You have 360 pages. Tell me that they've known each other for months. Just lie to me. Make this believable. Anyway, 3,941 people as of like early August 2024 highlighted the ending of his toast that says, love finds you in the forgiveness at the tail end of a fight. Love finds you in the empathy you feel for someone else. Love finds you in the embrace that follows a tragedy. Love finds you in the celebration after conquering an illness. Love finds you in the devastation after the surrender to an illness. Ew. Hey, that's cool. Good advice and all. I really wish all y'all the best in finding like somebody who loves you, because this book, idolizing a man in any Colleen Hoover book, I genuinely, I want you to find love. I want you so badly to find somebody who treats you right. The like absolute good vibes that I am sending you so that you can understand and feel love and be loved by somebody that makes you realize that the shit that she writes is not cool and you shouldn't look up to it and it's not groundbreaking. If she actually just writes really generic shitty shit for a man who's like the bars in hell. And I really wish nothing more for all of you to like actually experience true love. After this speech, Salone is just staring at Carter, just staring at him nonstop until she notices Asa, and Asa's staring at her, staring at him, and then Asa gets mad, and Asa's, again, he just starts doing shots. He's doing shots of like straight alcohol though. At least Carter was drinking champagne, but Asa's like throwing back whiskey. Cut to Asa's chapter, he's 6 shots deep in no time. And he's trying to find Salone in the crowd. She's upstairs in their bedroom. And he's like, why are you up here? And she's like, I don't like parties. And he's like, she used to like parties. She used to like parties when she would sleep on her stomach. And I swear to God, if I had to read, she slept on her stomach one more time. And then he asks if she wants to fuck Carter, because she was eyeing him, and she plays it off and he believes her, and then he goes back downstairs to drink some more, and he sees Carter and a girl in the corner making out. He's all on her neck and like her leg is all upon him, and they're all like macking on each other. He thinks to himself that he's going to steal Carter's girl right from under him because Carter deserves it. He is going to cheat on his fiance upstairs because Carter deserves it. This is so messy. It's so messy. It turns out the woman that like that Carter was macking on was an undercover police officer named Tilly. Tilly goes and follows Asa to distract him, and Carter goes upstairs to Salone, and they start making out. After they're done making out, and she's like, take me away from here, take me with you, we can run away, it doesn't have to be like this, take me with you. And they start crying, and she's crying, and it's actually really sad. And so I'm not going to downplay it. Like, it's really, really shitty of him to be stringing her along like this. He has recognized multiple times that it is an inappropriate relationship, and he can't save her and he can't help her, but he is still like chasing her and, you know, dragging her along. He had no reason to go to her room, and he had no reason to keep pursuing any of this. He's just like letting his emotions like fuck with her and his job, and it's again just like so pointlessly sad. Chapter 29, Sloane. That happened Friday night. We cut to Saturday, all day in bed crying, all day in bed sad. She plays it off that she's sick. We go to Sunday. She wakes up because she has to go and visit her brother. You remember that? I mentioned that a while ago. Sunday she goes to visit her brother, and then the guys were gonna go to the casino, and so she goes downstairs, and again to the biggest whiteboard in the world, except this time her message is gone, and it says, "Pickles don't feel guilty when people yodel, so why aren't the sheets even folded on Tuesday?" That's so deep. So she gets in her car and she has a text from Carter instructing her on where to pick him up and to delete his text messages, and so she does. She goes to this random corner in the street a couple blocks away, and he hops in the car and they kiss in broad daylight, again a few blocks away from where they live. It's just a few blocks away. He's tracking your phone. He knows people. He's a freaking psychopath, and you don't expect him to just see you making out with random men. It's just so reckless, and it makes me so mad. No one gives a shit. So they're making out, and then they drive to her brother's group home thing. You know, she's thinking about running away, and how she hopes Carter will actually save her, and then he interrupts with, "Can you make me a promise today?" I glance over at him. "Depends on what it is." I can see in your expression that you're thinking about Friday night. Let's not talk about Asa today, or about what we both know needs to happen. I don't even want to discuss the possibility of getting caught, or how stupid I am for coming with you. Let's just be Sloane and Luke today, okay? Luke? Who's Luke? Are we role-playing? I mean Carter. I used to go by my middle name when I was younger. It's a hard habit to break. Did I make you fluster? So flustered that you can't even remember which name you go by? Stop making fun of me. And don't ever call me Luke. Only my grandfather calls me Luke, and it's weird. Okay, but I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like Luke. He reaches over and squeezes my knee. Sloane and Carter. Let's be Sloane and Carter today. You fucking moron. Oh my god. I would love this book if it wasn't so stupid. I think I would really like this book if it wasn't such pointlessly violent and stupid. There's so much promise. So insane. In chapter 30, Carter's perspective. So they end up at the hospital. This is actually kind of serious, so I'm gonna pull this in, okay? They go to the group home, and we learn that Asa has only ever visited Steven, Sloane's brother, one time in the 2 years that they've been together. And Sloane says, "That's really sad, isn't it? That I have no one, literally no one. It's always just been me and Steven against the whole goddamn world. I want to comfort her, to tell her she has me, but she's being so honest right now. I don't want to feed her another lie. She doesn't even know my... And the more lies I tell her in moments like these, the harder it'll be for her to forgive me when she finds out the truth. Which she almost did earlier. I swear to God, sometimes I wonder how I even got this position to begin with." Me too. I'm the worst undercover detective that ever existed. Seriously, they should call me the Pink Panther. They hug. And when oh my god, actually, oh my god, I forgot this part. They hug. And when... So they get there and they hug. And when she tells him that he gives nice hugs, he says, "I think you just haven't been given enough hugs in your lifetime." Which, like, that's so uncalled for. Dude, I swear to God, if I told somebody, I was like, "Oh my god, do you give good hugs?" and they told me that, I think I would be so fucking mad, actually. I think I would be so offended. Cut to them visiting her brother. He's nonverbal, and it turns out the random word game is something that he and Sloane used to communicate. I'm not going to preempt this or like make you prejudice in any way. I'm just going to read you what's going on, and you come to your own feelings about what's happening, okay? He can read and write. She didn't mention that. She finishes writing something else and hands the paper back to Steven. When he hands her back the paper and she hands it to me, I read what she wrote first. "Books made out of jelly beans get really sticky when you wear furry gloves. I read what Stephen wrote next. His writing isn't as legible as hers, but I can make out what it says. Baskets of lizards on my head break the cotton in half for you. I glance at Salone and she shoots me a small smile. I recall our first day of class together when I saw her doing this for the first time. She said it was just a game she plays sometimes. I guess this is what she meant. She plays it on Sundays with Stephen. Can he read almost anything? I ask her. She shakes her head. He doesn't really comprehend. I taught him how to read and write when we were younger, but stringing full thoughts together has never been something I've seen him able to do on paper. It's his favorite game to play. I look over at Stephen. Can I write something, Stephen? I reach out for the pen and he hands it to me, but he still doesn't look at me. Carter writes, your sister is amazing and you're very lucky to have her. I hand Salone the paper and she reads it before handing it to Stephen. She blushes and nudges me in the shoulder and then passes the pen and paper off to him. And that's what we do for the next 10 pages. Stephen and Salone write random words back and forth, and I just write down a bunch of compliments about Salone. Your sister has great hair. I especially love it when she curls it. Did you know your sister cleans up after several men who don't know how to lift a damn finger, and no one has probably ever told her thank you? Thank you, Salone. Your sister's ring finger looks awfully beautiful and bare today. I like your sister a lot. After about an hour, a nurse comes in and interrupts the game to take Stephen to physical therapy. So the chapter ends with them leaving, and her brother Stephen comes up and hands Carter the pen and paper at the door. And he's like, I don't know what's happening. Salone, her interpretation and what she tells Carter is that means that Stephen likes him. And the chapter ends with Stephen saying that he's happy that he came today, and not only for Salone, but he's happy that he got to meet and hang out with Stephen as well, which is very cute. I don't want to speak on any of it or like offer an opinion or bias or anything, so just like that's what's going on. A harsh cut. We cut to Asa gambling at the casino. There's lots of character reflection. There's lots of I should feel for him emotionally, but I don't, because he's a piece of shit. Fuck that guy. Cut to Asa at the casino, just cursing up a storm, gambling. We get some backstory. The only interesting thing that happens is that while he is looking for John, who happened to disappear, he runs into a guy who looks really, really familiar at one of the poker tables, and it's his dad. But his dad makes eye contact with him. Asa sits across the table and plays poker with him, and his dad never recognizes him. Asa kind of plays along with it, and there's some banter and tension and shit talking, and Asa's anger just grows and grows and grows until he runs into his dad in the parking lot and beats the shit out of him until the guys pull him off of his father. He broke his jaw and his nose. They throw him in the car and he's screaming and he's crying and he's just like beating the dashboard, screaming at them to give him something, to the point that they have to pull over on the side of the road and get him some drugs from the trunk and give him heroin. That'll make it better. Back to Carter, who gets a text message from Dalton saying, hey, just went down. Salone needs to be home right now. Like, it has gone sideways. She needs to be home. They're super pouty about their time ending, and it's very like is all that I felt when I was reading it. Like, it was so petty and stupid, and again, because they're just, I don't know, it's all so superficial. Like, literally everything in this book would be so much better if these characters were fleshed out, or if you convinced me to like them, but it's also superficial. So anytime any one of them complains about anything, that's all I hear. And so that's what's happening. But they come to the decision that, like, you know, they can't talk to each other at the house. Obviously, they can't acknowledge each other's existence because Ace is already suspicious because this bitch said his name in her sleep. So they decide that when she's thinking about Carter, she's gonna twirl her hair, and he'll know that, like, you know, she wants him, and he'll rub his lip with his thumb, and that's how she'll know that he's thinking of her. Ew! To all of that I just did. That's so gross and so obvious. Girl, they're just so obvious about everything that they do that it infuriates me. Yo, if y'all are gonna be stupid, at least be slick about it. Come on. Sloane goes home. She gets a call from Asa. Asa is very down in the dumps, and very clearly, and he's begging for her to make him spaghetti. That's all he wants. And she's really, really pissed off about it for a multitude of reasons, but she's like, whatever, fine, I'll make you spaghetti. When he comes home, he comes through the door. She's in the kitchen. She's cooking. And she sees him, and he's bloody. He's like filthy in blood and covered in it. And she's like, oh my God. So she goes to clean him. As she's cleaning him in the sink, he notices she's not wearing her wedding ring or her engagement ring. And he gets pissed. So he yoinks her upstairs, super glues it to her finger. She, tries to play it off that like she just didn't want it to get it dirty while she was cooking, but obviously not a good enough answer. And he's like, I bet you won't forget it now. And not only did he like super glue it, but he super glued it crooked apparently, which I would lose my mind. It's one thing to super glue it. I would also lose my mind about that, but super gluing it crooked? They go downstairs after this to finish cooking. Like, that's how she gets out of the situation of his like blind rage. She's like, hey, your spaghetti's gonna burn. So she runs downstairs and she's like trying to take care of this. Asa, her, I think John, some other people, they're all kind of in the kitchen, cooking away, kind of watching her cook, whatever. Carter comes in and asks if they won any jackpots at the casino, and Asa says, nah, nothing like the jackpot you had on you Friday night. Tilly, right, the undercover cop that was all over him. Asa goes into graphic detail about what he saw them doing in the corner, about them like, all up, what did I say earlier? Not smacking, smooching, macking, them macking on each other. Sloane, again, into the dramatics, into her like mental dramatics of like, I thought he was different, I thought he was better. And so she's all sad about it. She's like in tears again, because God fucking bid this woman ever not cry. And so she's trying to play it off, like walking this fucking spaghetti around the kitchen island. And Asa comes and like wraps his arms around her. And so she turns around and kisses him to get back at Carter. And she says, for what he just did to me upstairs, this kiss isn't all about him. I just want Carter to feel what I just felt. Like there's a huge gash in my chest. Bitch. So Asa goes upstairs to shower. She and Carter are alone in the kitchen. And he's trying to explain, like, it's not like that. I would never do that to you. Like, I would never do that to you. It was, you don't understand. It was just like a thing, like, blah, 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 blah. He says, it wasn't like that, Sloane. I swear you have to just trust me. His words come out in a rushed, desperate whisper. I don't look at him when I say, you were making out with another girl? I slowly turn my head and make eye contact, and I can almost swear he's about to risk getting caught and pull me into him. He starts shaking his head. I wouldn't do that to you. It wasn't like that. His words are slow and precise this time. Everything about him makes me want to trust what he's saying, but everything about every single male from my past tells me he's never to trust anyone. Wait, what? But everything about every male from my past tells me to never trust. What the is the sentence? But everything about every single male from my past tells me never to trust anyone with a dick. I think that makes sense, but it doesn't make sense to me. He glances around to make sure no one can see us. All the guys are in the living room with their backs to us and they're facing the TV. Oh my God, I just remembered why he screenshot this. Sorry. Oh my God. Okay. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. So he's like, I wouldn't do that to you. It wasn't like that. His words are slow and precise this time. He glances around to make sure no one can see us. All the guys are in the living room and they have their backs to us and they're facing the TV. Carter leans in and squeezes my wrist. I would never do anything to hurt you, Sloane, ever. I swear on your brother's life, Sloane. And that's when I really get angry. No one swears on my brother's life. It's over before I realized I did it. I slapped him so hard. All the other guys in the living room turned in their seats. I can't believe I just slapped him. I can't tell who's more shocked by it, him, me, or all the guys that are now staring at us. I'm more hurt than I've probably ever been in my life, but I'm still smart enough to know that I need to find a reason for slapping him, so it doesn't appear personal to everyone staring at us. Don't dip your fingers in the spaghetti sauce, asshole. That's disgusting. He swore on her brother's life? On her brother's life? What? I don't have the words. On her brother's life. Not on his mom. Not on his family. No, because he's a shallow character. I don't even know if he has a mom. Like, I don't even know anything about his family. We know nothing. He's such a shallow character that in the moment of truth, when he has to prove himself, he swears on her brother's life. After that, so she slaps him, and then she's like, literally, you, fuck all of you, I'm out of here, the spaghetti's done. She says, I walk to the back door and yell over my shoulder, your fucking spaghetti is ready, you goddamn asshole motherfuckers. Okay, Colleen. Okay, edgy queen. Okay, baddie. We hear you. Okay, you curse. Oh my god, that's like so cool. Chapter 34. So again, cut back to Carter. The guys are eating, and after they're done eating, Carter cleans the kitchen, you know, because he's a good guy. He does the dishes. He cleans the whole place, and he tells Dalton to go upstairs and check on Asa, because he never made it downstairs. Like, he went upstairs to shower and never came back down for dinner. So Carter sends Dalton upstairs to take care of Asa, and then he goes outside to talk to Salome, and she's in the pool in her underwear, and she asks about Tilly, if they're dating, why he had his hands on her. You know, he says it was a cover to convince Asa that he wasn't interested in fucking Salome, and she says, are you interested in fucking me? And it turns into this like flirty thing, and then he says, I'm interested in making love to you. And then this devolves into her getting out of the pool, standing chest to chest with Carter in the backyard. We are in eyesight with like her window, her and Asa's window. Eyesight. You are in the backyard. People can see you. What the fuck are you doing? So, chest to chest, saying she knows that he's undercover. She says, I'll tell every single one of them who you are, Luke. And so he freaks out, and he starts saying, like, I'm not using you, my feelings are genuine, and, you know, they start making out, again, making out in the backyard. Eye contact with the house, with the people, and so he, like, kind of pulls her to, like, the side yard where they will have more privacy, but they end up just, like, stripping their clothes and making out more, and this ultimately ends up with them naked, making their way around the house. And my friends, at the 52% mark, at page 202, they have sex in the backseat of his car, in the driveway of the house where her psychotic boyfriend is. I'm not, like, I get it. I so badly want her to get out of this situation, but, like, give me the tiniest amount of fucking self-preservation, bro. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for much. Just, like, pretend to care about not being murdered by a psychopath. Pretend to at least try to be smart about cheating on your psychopathic boyfriend, fiance guy. Holy fuck. Please. Hello, my friends. Is it the next day? I don't know, maybe. I'm wearing the same shirt so you can't tell, but you probably can tell because I have a lot more motivation to live. I was starting to lose my mind. I'm sure you were able to tell. I think I filmed for like 2.5 hours last night. Sorry, my battery little guy's dangling. Hold on, sorry. It's like an ASMR thing. Anyway, yeah, I was starting to lose my mind. I was filming for like 2.5, 3 hours on top of taking notes that day. So I was really tired of this book, and I was getting really frustrated, but that's okay. So we're here. It's a new day. I'm going to try to knock out this godforsaken book so I don't ever have to think about it again. Yay! I know you guys know where we left off because this is the same video for you, but for me, just to recap, these dummies are having relations in the car in the front yard. Luckily for them, when someone comes knocking at the door and yelling at them to get out of the car, it's just Dalton. Lucky as hell. And so Dalton is pissed, rightfully so, and he tells them to at least take their clothes with them if they're going to be stupid, which is what I'm saying, bro. Me and Dalton, same page. Love that man. Asa's still asleep, so that's good, but Dalton tells Sloane to go back upstairs and go be with him before Carter gets her killed. Rightfully so. So she goes inside, she takes a shower, and she reflects on her life choices, because she's making some really freaking bad choices lately. And when she goes back into the bedroom where Asa is, he is passed out and naked in the bed. And then he starts vomiting everywhere, and she can't move him because he's, again, passed out. And so she has to go back downstairs, and luckily Dalton and Carter are still there to help her move Asa so she can, like, clean the sheets, which is so gross. They end up doing this, and then, you know, he is so thankful. He kind of comes to a little bit, and he's like, oh my God, Sloane, you take such good care of me. And then he starts sobbing, like, uncontrollably, like the type of cry where you don't make noise. Just not wailing because he's not making noise, dumbass. Why would I say that? But he's just like sobbing into this pillow, and she's rubbing his head, like trying to soothe him and calm him down. And as she's doing this, Carter walks over to her and kisses her on the forehead, holding his lips there for several seconds. Again, any ounce of self-preservation, please, for the love of God. I just want a character who's not dumb as a bag of rocks. Cut to Asa, hungover, eating leftover spaghetti out of the fridge, but like questioning if he did actually kill his dad or not. And then Sloane bursts through the door, asking where the paperwork is. Do you remember earlier when I mentioned that her clarity come to moment while she was curling her hair before the engagement party, she was thinking about talking to her brother's caseworker to try and get the funding back? Well, it turns out the funding had never stopped. His care had never been private pay. Asa had hired a guy to like mock up paperwork that made it look like he lost funding, and then every month this guy, he's paying a lot of money to this guy to do the mock up paperwork and the mock up check that he was like doing private pay for this care. So she found that out. The social worker looked at her like she was stupid, and she's pissed. And so she's like straight from the social worker to Asa's house, or her house, her and Asa, I don't know, whatever. She goes off, you know, and she's talking about like, you trapped me. I can't believe you. I'm so sick of you. That was so f***ed up, like blah, blah, blah. And her use of the term trapped with Asa is very like rage inducing, because his thing is, oh, so if you're only here for money and if you're faking everything, then you're just a whore, right? Which is obviously, a whore is a very big word in this book, and that's a very big word to Asa. So cue a super violent scene that ends with Asa pinning her down until she says that she loves him and she didn't mean it, and that she wouldn't leave him. Okay. So after that, Sloane is taking a shower, and when she's taking a shower, Asa comes in and he's acting really strange, and he's asking her why people don't come over to the house anymore, and she's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? We got people here all the time. And he's like, it's just not the same. I want to host a dinner tonight. I want to have all of our friends here. And he asks her to cook for them. He apologizes about lying about her brother's benefits and says that he should treat her better. He just doesn't know how to. And then he gets into the shower with her fully clothed. And when she goes to leave, like she gets out of the shower, she goes and gets dressed because she has to go to the grocery store to get stuff for dinner that night. She goes back into the bathroom, and he's just sitting in the tub with the shower on, fully clothed. And he asks her to get a dessert for the celebration. What celebration? He says, you'll see. Big scary man. That's big scary words from a scary man. I was horrified at this moment in time. Cut to Carter. Everyone's coming over for dinner, right? We learn that Ace's dad's okay. Like I mentioned earlier, the whole broken nose, broken jaw thing, but he's good otherwise. Carter also enlightens us that Ace's father was diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic and that he had a shitload of other issues. Let's just keep that in mind going forward, okay? He's a diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic. We also learned that Sloane, she got back from the store and she watched Asa stare at the pool and slap his forehead 36 times. She counted. Okay, so everybody's a little on edge. Everybody's a little uncomfortable, but they eat dinner. As they're eating dinner and he says that he has his little surprise and he's about to announce it, he gets cut off by loud banging at the door. And it's the FBI. Dalton and Carter exchange a look. Neither was expecting it. They're freaking out internally about how this could blow the case for them. Asa tells Sloane to go upstairs and to go into the bedroom. And this stupid bitch, not to victim blame, looks at Carter for approval. Asa sees it and then he gets pissed, obviously. And so then Carter is glad that the FBI is there because, like, hopefully at least they'll arrest him because it sure looks like Ace is about to murder him. And I'm not going to take this moment away from you, so I'm just going to read it. The FBI separates everybody. They put them into different rooms. This is Carter's perspective. He says, "All I can think about is Sloane and how freaked out she probably is right now. The door slams shut behind me and I'm thrown into a desk chair. There are two men in the room with me. They both pull their badges out of their jacket pockets and flash them at me. I'm Agent Bowers," he says. "This is Agent Thompson. We're going to ask you a few questions and we'd appreciate your cooperation." I nod. Agent Bowers walks closer to me and says, "Do you live here?" I shake my head. "No." I start to tell them what I'm doing here and that they're making a big fucking mistake, but the tall one interrupts me and says, "What's your name?" "Carter," I say. I don't say Luke yet because I'm not sure if Asa is even being arrested. The last thing I need is for the fucking FBI to blow my cover. "Carter," Agent Bowers says, like you just have one name, so you're like Madonna, Cher. He bends forward, eyeing me. "What's your fucking last name, smartass?" I twist my hands behind my back, trying to ease the pressure cutting into the circulation in my wrists. My pulse is pounding in my temples, partly because the entire last few minutes and partly because I'm pissed that they're about to end everything and get all the credit. Sure, they might be here to arrest Asa, and yes, I'm relieved that Sloane is now safe, but knowing the entire last few months were for shit and that I had put Sloane in danger more than once really hits a nerve. It hasn't been a few months, though. Like, I just want to be very, very clear. It's been like 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know what the few months thing that he's referencing here. In the beginning of the book, it opens with him saying it's a 2-month or 3-month assignment. So, like, time is a thing. It's a concept. Words have meaning. And get all the credit. Sure, they might be here to arrest Asa, and yes, I'm relieved that Sloane is now safe, but knowing the entire last few months were for shit, and that I put Sloane in danger more than once really hits a nerve. Agent Thompson kicks my chair, bringing my attention back to him. "What's your last name, son?" Little does he know that I'm aware of how to conduct a proper investigation and that these assholes have already broken at least 3 rules. But the FBI and even the police aren't really known to follow rules to the specifics in situations like these, which is why I trust very few people. I open my mouth to respond to them, but I'm cut off by the sound of Sloane's scream coming from upstairs. I immediately jump up, but both of them shove me back down in the chair. "Fucking arrest me or let me go," I yell. I have to get to Sloane. She's probably scared shitless right now and not knowing what the hell is going on. I need to check on her before I fucking lose it, but if they won't let me out of the room, "I'm on your side," I say to them, trying to keep my voice calm when I just feel like screaming at them. "If you take the cuffs off, I'll prove it, and then I'll go back to my fucking job." Agent Thompson stares at me for a moment and then looks back at Agent Bowers. He points at me. "You hear that? He's a cop." Agent Bowers also laughs with a heavy dose of sarcasm. He says, "Our bad, you're free to go," pointing toward the door. I could do without the sarcasm. I also know I just fucked up by breaking my cover, but I'm not sitting here for another minute with these assholes. I'll worry about dealing with Dalton, later. You'll find my badge taped underneath my passenger seat. It's the black Charger. Agent Thompson goes to get his ID out of the Charger to like prove that he's a cop before they let him out of the room. And when he comes back in with the ID, it is Asa. Because Asa hired them. They were hired actors online, and the FBI jackets and everything was also bought online. And this is the worst undercover police officer guy I have ever heard of in my entire life. And the self-awareness of being a horrible police officer doesn't negate the fact that this is the stupidest character that I've ever read. So now we'll call him Luke. We will no longer use the name Carter. Carter is Luke. Luke is Carter. He's going by Luke now because everybody knows his name because he's stupid. Cut to Asa. So Asa, rightfully so, is talking shit to him. And he says, "You're stupid. I mean really stupid. Why would you be so quick to reveal yourself? I'm no cop, but I'd assume breaking cover is not something your people take lightly. Asa deduces that he must have revealed it to save someone like Salone, who was screaming. And so begins a very detailed recounting of Asa tricking Salone into a relationship. He goes into this like very gross detailing about his time with Salone, and he ends the conversation by telling Luke if Luke took away Asa's title of being Salone's first and only sexual partner, Asa will kill them both. So, Asa goes upstairs to fetch Salone to get to the bottom of what's going on. It's so scary. I'm so scared for everybody. Salone is in the room with one of the actors, and she's also starting to realize that they're acting really, really weird, and this is definitely not a real FBI agent. And then he begins to assault her. Because again, like literally not a single dude can look at her and not want to be in her pants and to like take advantage of her. He has his hand up her shirt when Asa comes in, and Asa sees what's going on, kills the guy. She's covered in blood, her ears are ringing, and she has to step over his dead body as Asa drags her downstairs. And again, I'm just going to read you this next part because I don't want to take this moment away from you. They get down to the other bedroom. He sits Salone down. He says, "Sloan," he whispers, still smoothing his hand over my hair. I try to look around the room, but he grabs my jaw and forces my eyes back to him. "Baby, I have some really bad news. I don't think my heart can take whatever he's about to say, and I'm afraid if I open my mouth to respond to him, I'll puke. I know about you and Luke." My heart crashes to a halt at his name. I fight back the flood of tears, attempting to return. He called him Luke. How does he know that his name is Luke? I muster every ounce of strength that I can find to play dumb. Who's Luke? His eyes scroll over my face, his pupils contract and then expand again. A slow smile spreads across his face, and then he presses his lips to my forehead. "That's what I thought," he whispers, pulling away from me. "It's not your fault, Salone. He brainwashed you, tried to turn you against me, but his name isn't even Carter, baby. It's Luke. Ask him yourself." He slips his hand under my back and pushes me up until I'm sitting up on the bed, and I'm suddenly face to face with my worst nightmare. Luke is sitting in the desk chair, his hands cuffed behind his back. The agony on his face speaks volumes of what he thinks about our predicament. Asa is watching me, watching for a reaction. I try to control it, to hide my fear, my heartache, my own agony, but knowing we're both at the hands of Asa right now leaves little strength for pretending. That's what Asa wants, a reaction. I do whatever I can to not give him one that he expects, and he's standing up, so I look at him with the most innocent expression that I am capable of right now. "Asa, what are you talking about? Why is Carter handcuffed?" He stares down at me like he's disappointed, like he expected me to come out and say that I knew that Luke was undercover, or at least that I'm sleeping with him. He smirks. "You still think I'm stupid, Sloan? So I guess it's okay if I do this then, huh?" He lifts his gun. He strides toward him, just like he did the second before he shot the guy upstairs. I immediately jump up and grab his arm and scream, "No, Asa, no!" He doesn't even need me to admit anything. My reaction is giving me away. Asa doesn't shoot him. Instead, the hand that's holding his gun swings around and hits me so hard I fly back onto the bed. The side of my head instantly begins to throb. Asa is focused on me, his anger flaring. He's on top of me now, gripping my wrists, pressing his forehead to the side of my head. "Sloan, no," he says, his voice instantly strained. No, baby." He pulls back and his eyes are full of hurt. "He was inside of you? You let him inside you? Oh, ew. I'm crying too hard to admit it. I'm crying too hard to deny it. His entire face pulls into a grimace as if he thinks that this is the absolute worst thing that could possibly be happening right now. He just shot a guy upstairs and he's more upset that I cheated on him. I turn my head to the side and squeeze my eyes shut. This is it. This is how I'm going to... Asa buries his head in the crevice of my neck and shoulder and mutters, "I can't remember if I locked the door." The "I can't remember if I locked the door" thing, just side tangent super fast, is a repetitive behavior that he has, and it was a repetitive behavior that his father had. So they're trying to not intertwine it, but I guess that is like a one kind of follow through between his story and his flashbacks to his dad. So again, just want you guys to be informed of what's going on. So he says, "I can't remember if I locked the door." When he crawls off of me, I try to process what he just said, but it was so random and my pulse is racing too fast to process thoughts. I don't even know what to think. As he's walking toward the door, I turn my head to find Luke. His hands are cuffed behind his back around the desk chair, but he quickly stands, slipping his arms up and over the back of the chair, and then he sits down again, this time with his arms directly behind his back without the barrier of the chair. Did you really have to spell it out like that? Okay. It all happened so fast, it takes me a second to realize that he's not even cuffed to the chair. I definitely don't think you needed that sentence. Asa must not have realized this, or he'd never turn his back to him. What the dude? This is so stupid. Colleen, we're smart, I promise you. You don't need to say all of this. My eyes flick to the door and Asa is locking it. My eyes flick back to Luke's and he's shaking his head, warning me to stay calm. He can't bring his thumb to his lip, but he's biting it, running his teeth across it. Ew. I tug at the strain of my hair just as Asa rests his back against the bedroom door. He places the gun flat against his cheek and looks straight at Luke. I already told you about the first time I f***ed her. It's your turn. That's all I can say. It's so gross. I hate the way we talk about women. The next chapter is from Asa's point of view, but it's all a flashback to his childhood trauma, and I'm not going to repeat it because fuck him and fuck feeling bad for him, but it ultimately ends with him striving to have someone who loves him, who will never leave him, who will get him, make him spaghetti, and bring him coconut cake. The whole thing is just setting up that, like, he's had this obsession since he was young that he would marry or find someone like Salone to love him. And then cut to present day. He says that he's never killed anyone until a few moments ago, and he knows the cops are coming soon, but he doesn't care. He wants to know what was happening between Luke and Salone. Future Kaylee speaking. Hi! I'm gonna read this next chapter, like, verbatim, because it's kind of like the climax of the book, and so I don't want to, like, summarize that and take that away from you. So I'm about to read something that's really, really heavy and really, really gross, and so if you want to skip that, skip to this timestamp. And when you go to that timestamp, I'll summarize the scene so nobody's left behind, okay? Thank you. Luke works his way out of his cuffs even more, and when he's trying to play savior and he jumps after Asa shoots him in the thigh. And then Asa begins asking Salone if she loves him. I crawl over to her to grab her hands, but she keeps pulling away from me. Asa's point of view, remember? I press my forehead to the side of her head. Tell me you love me, Salone. She's shaking so hard she can't speak. Please, baby, I need to hear you say it. She tries 3 times to get her voice to work, but she keeps stuttering. Her lips are trembling harder than I've ever seen. She finally gets out one sentence. Let Luke go and I'll say it. I squeeze my hand around the gun. I wrap the other hand around her hair and squeeze. I blow out a steady breath from my nostrils. When I calm myself enough to speak, I grit my teeth and whisper, you love me, right? You don't love him. You love me. I pull back and I meet her petrified eyes. She lifts her chin and says, I'll answer that after you let him go. He needs a doctor, Asa. A doctor? He doesn't need a doctor. He needs a fucking miracle. I don't need you to answer that, I say to her. I have a feeling if I kill him, I'll be able to tell if you love him based on your reaction. Her eyes widen, and she immediately begins shaking her head. I don't, she blurts out. Please don't kill him. It'll make things worse for you. I love you, Asa. Don't worry, Salone. He's probably wearing a bulletproof vest. I turn my head and lift my gun, aiming it straight at Luke's chest. I fire the shot. Luke's whole body jerks against the wall. His hands go to his chest just as the blood begins pouring through his fingers. He immediately falls limp onto his side. Oh, my bad. I was wrong. Salone is screaming. Why are you fucking screaming, Salone? Why? I can hear my father's voice repeating, horror, horror, horror. I smack my forehead to get it to stop, stop, stop. She doesn't love him. She loves me forever. You don't love him, Salone. I grab her cheeks and press my lips to hers. She's trying to pull away from me, trying to fight me. Yes, I do, she screams. I love him. I hate you. I love him. I fucking hate you. She's going to regret this. She's going to regret this more than she's ever fucking regretted anything in her whole worthless. If she thinks she's sad now watching that bastard die, wait until she sees me die. My death would fucking devastate her. She'll be crying so hard she won't even have enough air to say that she hates anyone. Horror, horror, horror. I smack my hand against my forehead again. She's no longer screaming now. She's just sobbing uncontrollably. You're going to regret this, Salone. You think you're crying hard now? When I die, it'll fucking kill you. It will kill you. She shakes her head back and forth, sobbing through her words. It's too late to kill me, Asa. You killed me a long time ago. She's delusional. She's goddamn delusional. I laugh knowing how much this is going to upset her. I laugh knowing how much she's going to regret everything she just said to me. I wish I could be here to see it when she finally realizes how much I mean to her, how much I've done for her, what her life will be without me. I press my mouth against her trembling lips and I press the gun to the side of my head and I pull the fucking... So that chapter ends. I don't like it here. I don't like it here. The scene that I just read, just to summarize it for anybody who skipped the full reading. Asa brings Salone back to the bedroom where Luke is. Luke gets out of his handcuffs. Luke rushes Asa. Asa shoots Luke twice. As Salone is freaking out and she's crying, like uncontrollably sobbing about watching Luke die in front of her, Asa is telling her about how much she's going to regret it when he dies, and it's her fault. And so then he brings the gun up to his head. I press the gun to the side of my head and I pull the fucking end chapter. Damn, bro. The next chapter is Luke talking about what it feels like to die. The next chapter, Salome is reflecting on what it's like to experience the death of someone she loves. We learn about the death of her brother. He had a seizure and he fell off of the top bunk. And when he fell, he hit the door hinge just right on his temple that it killed him instantly. And if it was 6 centimeters to the left or to the right, he would have been fine. She's kind of reflecting on this whole 6 centimeters to the left or to the right. And she has this whole reflection about that sort of situation and these miracles that I found very relatable and very well said. So again, I'm going to share this part with you because I thought that it was valuable. I obsessed over it because I knew that if he had fallen 6 centimeters to the left or to the right, his survival would have been referred to as a miracle. But what happened to Drew was the opposite of a miracle. It was a tragic accident. A tragic accident that made me lose my belief in miracles altogether. By the time I was 13, anything labeled as a miracle pissed me the hell off. That's one of the main reasons why I never partook in social media. The amount of miracles seen in my Facebook newsfeed would make my eyes practically roll out of my head. So many people cured of cancer thanks to prayers of all their Facebook friends. It's benign, hallelujah, God is so good to me. There were many times I wanted to reach through my laptop screen and grab those people by the shoulders and scream, hey, guess what? You aren't special. Lots of people die from cancer. Where was their miracle? Did their Facebook friends not pray enough? Why did their chemotherapy, sorry, this is serious. Why did their chemotherapy not work? Because they didn't post enough public prayer requests on social media? Why didn't they get their miracle? Does God think less of their lives than those whose lives he spares? No. Sometimes cancer is cured and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes people hit their heads and die. Most of the time they hit their heads and survive. And anytime you hear of a person beating the odds, that's all they're doing. Beating the odds. Because people never really think about how, in order to beat the odds, a lot of unfortunate deaths have to occur for that particular survival to be considered out of the norm. Maybe Drew's death hardened me to the idea of miracles, but in my mind, you either survive or you don't. The journey from first breath to death has nothing to do with miracles, how much you pray, coincidences, or divine intervention. Sometimes a person's journey from first breath to death isn't always part of a master plan. Sometimes the only thing that separates your final breath from your death is a mere 6 inches. That's why, when the doctor walked into the waiting room to update me on Luke's condition, I had to sit down when he said, if the bullet had made an impact just 6 centimeters to the left or to the right of where it did, Luke would have died instantly. Now, all we can do is pray for a miracle. Okay, let's unpack that, book club. This is how you get around copyright. Because we're going to unpack that, right? So I just read you a good verse. Let's break it down. I think what was said, the sentiment of it is very interesting and I think adds a lot of value and I think a lot of people would find it relatable. I wish that we would have learned the whole 6 centimeter thing much earlier in the book and then just bring up the 6 centimeter thing about Luke later and allow the reader to make those connections and to see the similarities in those situations and the juxtaposition to maybe, kind of prove her character wrong over time. I think to kind of exposition dump why the 6 centimeters thing matters and then the impact now doesn't really add value to the situation. It just feels very repetitive. When I was reading that, I feel like I was reading the same sentence or phrases so many times, especially final breath from your death or first breath to your death, breath to death, breath to death, breath to death, 6 centimeters, all of that. When it's all in one chapter and all in one go, super repetitive and very, I would say, poorly executed personally. If it would have been spread out more or trickled in versus dumped, it would have been so much better. And I think that is something that Colleen Hoover does a lot, where she spells things out so clearly for the reader that it is infuriating. But I see where people could read that at face value and be like, wow, that's so deep. You know what I mean? Be like, wow, that's so cool. She's such a good writer. And it's no, she's not. In practice, she's not. She's just commercially writes well and it's easy to understand. And I feel people misunderstand readability for quality. But I'm also, again, I'm not a New York Times bestselling author, so what the do I know? And of course, The scene would not be complete without the Colleen Hoover trifecta. So in addition to exposition dumping and not trusting her readers to come to their own conclusions, Sloane and Dalton have a moment, and it ends with her kissing Luke, and he wakes up. And the first thing that he says when he wakes up is, "Depressed baguettes linger on the playground eating bowls of cereal until the slugs wilt." Dalton starts freaking out about brain damage. The chapter ends with Sloane, he says, his voice gravelly, "I can't remember anything that happened after I f***ed everything up. Did you end up saving me?" I laugh and I lift up on my elbow. "Not really," I say quietly. "You shot Ace's gun out of his hand, and then I ran over to you and put pressure on your wound until the paramedics got there. I'd say it was a mutual save." He tries to force a smile. "I told you I wasn't very good at my job." I smile in wholehearted agreement. "It's not too late to quit, you know. You could go back to school and be a Spanish teacher." He winces with a laugh. "That's not a bad idea, Sloane." He struggles to lean forward in order to kiss me, but it takes everything in him. He's only 6 centimeters away. A mere 6 centimeters between breath and life. When I close that 6-centimeter gap and kiss him, I know that I'm closing a chapter, a really dark chapter that I've been waiting for more than 2 years to end. This kiss is just the beginning of a whole new book, a book where maybe miracles aren't that far-fetched. Do you see what I mean? Painfully just beats an idea to death. It's such a shame. Cut to Asa. Asa's alive. Asa jolts awake in prison with the realization that she said Carter, not harder. Okay. Back to Sloane. Luke is awake, and he talks her into moving in with him because obviously she can't live at, like, Asa's house. Sloane is over at Luke's house. He's being sweet, whatever, usual stuff. I'm kind of over it. It's very shallow. Ryan, Dalton, and then Tilly show up at his apartment, though, to give them some bad news. The bad news being, long story short, Asa is claiming that he shot the guy in the bedroom out of self-defense, like to defend Sloane. So they're going to waive that for self-defense. He says it's a solid case of self-defense. The guy was holding an unauthorized weapon. Sloane was screaming for help. He was attacking her. Even with her testimony, Asa's defense holds up. Also, Asa is claiming to have no knowledge of who the men were who broke into the home, and the police haven't located any of the men who fled. Only the victim, who so far has no ties to Asa that we can prove. Asa is also claiming that Luke and Sloane are setting him up, or that they set him up. And there's no one to corroborate. Y'all know what word I'm trying to say. I'm not going to embarrass myself. There's no one to say otherwise. So, long story short, there's no verifiable reason for Luke shooting him, right? Nobody was in the room. Nobody has anything to argue that. So, they're offering a plea deal where the charges get dropped across the board and everybody moves on. And nothing else was found in the house. John and the other guys had cleared out the house before the cops got there. So there's literally nothing to charge Asa with other than shooting Luke. But if Luke set them up and like blah, 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 his word versus her word, like no evidence. Craziness, dude. So he's going to get away with it. In chapter 47, we're almost done with this, guys. Praise Jesus. Ace is at the hearing. He gets released on bail. He talks about how up our judicial system is because he played insane. He had it set up for weeks to convince everyone that he was losing his mind. He read the DSM, is what Colleen has in there, that he read the DSM and just started demonstrating schizophrenic traits to get out for being crazy. And the chapter ends with him telling his cellmate that he's going to get out of here and go and marry his fiance. I realize now that I have not been doing my due diligence in doing my bingo card. So again, I'll post a screenshot again with everything kind of scratched off of what we've done so far. But now, the bingo card section that we're about to check off is the stuck in the house scene. Okay, we are in the home stretch. Are you ready? I have one little bar on my battery left, and it is 8 p.m. And we have like 8 chapters, okay? We're gonna kill this as fast as possible. So, cut to a stuck in the house scene, which is another bingo card item. As per all Colleen Hoover books, this time they're locked in an apartment in this city, hiding out until Asa has a hearing for his next trial. Trial for what? I don't know. They don't really say, but we know that their case against him was thrown out and he's on bail. So I don't know. In the midst of their like romantic fling, we learn that Luke has a mom that he visits once a month. So yay, character development. Next thing we know, Ryan is knocking on the door of their apartment, but he's giving their secret signal that something's not right. And that signal means don't open the door, but Ryan is saying open the door, he has Tilly, he's going to kill her. So they open the door and Asa comes in with a gun to Ryan's head. This is escalating very quickly, I know. I don't know what to tell you. He's there to get Sloane, again, gun to Ryan's head, and how are they going to get out of this? Well, Luke is going to detail the first time that he and Sloane had sex, explicitly and graphically, and Sloane is going to pile on and say that it was the best experience of her life. And as Asa's heart is breaking in his chest, Luke is going to shoot him 3 times. Cut to Asa's chapter. Asa's bleeding, handcuffed on the floor, watching Luke comfort Sloane and cursing them out and talking about how much of a whore she is. And she's just goading him on. She's saying all the mean things to get back at him. Her and Luke are like making out and saying that they love each other as they kiss. And this is quoting the book, right? Sloane presses her lips to Luke's lips. Sloane presses her lips to Luke one more time, and then she turns and walks toward me. She bends down in front of me. I would reach out and strangle her, but I'm fairly certain I've lost too much blood to even lift my arms now. No one is going to kill you, Asa. For the rest of your life, every time you close your eyes in that prison cell, I want you to imagine the life I'm having with Luke. I want you to picture me making love to Luke, marrying Luke, having Luke's babies. She leans in closer until I can smell him on her. She's whispering when she looks me dead in the eyes and says, and every year on April 20th, my beautiful family will be celebrating your birthday with a big, huge, delicious coconut cake, you sorry fucking bastard. And he says, the whore is smiling and it's all I see. Now that is a good callback, right? The whole all I see thing, I close my eyes and Sloane is all I see, is such a good reference to what we've heard Luke say throughout the book. Now we get the juxtaposition of Asa saying it in a negative connotation. Love that. Love that. That's so good. That's like the only example of good writing, a good bit that I could throw in here. Back to Luke. They're trapped again in the apartment, this time under 24-hour surveillance and lots of deadbolts. So after that whole stunt, Asa got put on house arrest. What can you do? The only comfort that they have beyond the surveillance and the 7 deadbolts that they have is that Asa has a ankle monitor. And then cue like a random side thing that happens for these last 4 chapters. Sloane wants to make a cookbook, and she wants to name it like food I made for my abusive boyfriend before I left him, or something like weird like that. It just feels forced, and I don't know where it's coming from. And like, I know she cooked a lot for them, but that was at the direction of Asa, and it was never said like she enjoyed it. It just felt weird. Anyway, Sloane's pregnant. Bingo. She's pregnant, which I called. I knew this would happen. Colleen would never talk about a condom or birth control without it meaning pregnancy. And same thing, like 2 chapters ago in this like forced proximity thing, Luke rubbed her stomach or something, and I was like, oh, she's pregnant. Yeah, fuck. Yeah, I hate that. I hate surprise pregnancies. I hate that so much. So she's pregnant, and she's pretty sure that it's Asa's, right? Considering her and Luke were only together that one time. She talks about getting an abortion, how she wouldn't make Luke raise a baby that isn't his, to raise another man's baby. I'm pro-choice, obviously. You should have autonomy of your own body. If this is your belief of like, hey, if whatever, I support you, I don't know. I'll just read it to you. If you knew right now for a fact that this baby is Asa's, would you want to keep it? She doesn't respond for a moment, and then she shakes her head. I wouldn't do that to you, Luke. It wouldn't be fair to you. I'm not asking about me, I say in a firm voice. I'm asking you. If you knew this was Asa's baby, would you want to keep it? Another tear falls, and I let it roll down her cheek. It's a baby, Luke, she says quietly. It's an innocent baby, but like I said, I wouldn't do that to you. I pull her to me, and I kiss the side of her head and hold her there a moment. When I find the words I want to say to her, I pull back and force her to look at me again. I'm in love with you, Sloane. Madly in love with you. And if this baby growing inside of you is half you, do you know how lucky I would feel if you allowed me to love something that was a part of you? I lower my palm to her stomach and rest it there. This baby is mine, Sloane. It's yours, it's ours, and if your decision is to raise this baby, then I'm going to be the best damn father that ever walked this earth, I promise. Again, respect anyone who feels that way. Like, respect it. I'm just saying, like, personally, this shit is wild. And, like, willingly continuing to carry the child of a monster of a man? It couldn't be me. It couldn't be me. I mean, what a horrible situation to be in. Like, God bless. Like, I really, like, just God bless. I'm so fucking sorry to anybody who ever is in anything even remotely similar to this. What a horrible decision to have to face. This just feels weird, though. I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't like anything that's happening. I just don't like it. I don't like it. And so then they ruin the moment, though. You know, people could hear that and think that that was sweet. God bless again. But they ruin the moment by saying the gibberish sentences to each other again, and Luke ends the chapter by thinking, our baby is gonna have the strangest two parents in the whole world. Ugh, I just want to vomit. It's just so forced and gross. I'm getting antsy. I'm almost done with this. I can feel being done. The next chapter is Asa's point of view again, and it's a lot of angry ranting. I'm talking like 4 pages of just him bitching. And we learn that Asa has been stalking Sloane and Luke. He's also been taking medication to make his ankles swell to like a super obscene degree, so that once he stops taking it and the swelling goes down, he'll be able to slip the ankle monitor off. And then he hired a guy to sit at the house and wear the ankle monitor like on his wrist until Asa's done doing what he needs to do. That way nobody gets notified about the ankle monitor thing, which is crazy. Asa, again, while stalking them and reviewing footage of their apartment, realizes that Sloane is pregnant, and he is so excited to be a father, but he realizes that, like, he doesn't know if the kid is his or Luke's, and so he begins destroying his home. And he gets a crucifix that's above the TV for some reason. He refers to it as Jesus on a stick multiple times, and is, like, smashing mirrors and pictures and walls and just, like, destroying stuff with Jesus on a stick. He talks about, like, oh, Jesus on a stick, do you want to come on an adventure with me tomorrow? There's a woman that needs to repent. And it's just like such forced edge, like it's such forced edgelord behavior that just makes me cringe. And I don't like to cringe. Secondhand cringe, not for me. Not for me. It's embarrassing. Fucking knock it off. The next chapter is Sloane. She's cooking. She's taking photos for her cookbook for this weird hobby that she has all of a sudden. And while cooking, she hears Asa ask her what smells so good. She's horrified. She's crying. She's scared. He picks her up and carries her to the bedroom and asks her repeatedly whose baby it is. We learn that he got into the house because he paid off the maintenance worker that came in that morning to replace an air filter. He paid that guy like $2,000 to open up one of the windows. Apparently, Luke is only paying for that 24-hour surveillance for the front of the building, not the back or the side. So, you can imagine what happens next. He SAs her again. Obviously, I'm not going to detail it any more than that. It is sad and heartbreaking, and I thought we got through all of this, and it's like every time that you think we're in the clear, it's just more assault against this poor fucking woman. Like, just more utter sadness, bro. He reveals that if he knew that she would be so hot pregnant, he would have tampered with her birth control a lot sooner. Okay, and that he did it because he didn't want her to leave him. Okay, that's so cool. That's so cool. That's so cool. That's so cool. Second to last chapter, Sloane. She plays her part, right? She's trying to stay alive. She tells Asa everything that he wants to hear. And Asa wants to wait for Luke to come home so that he can get his revenge. And then they'll run away together. And then all of a sudden, internally, she starts freaking the out about how she didn't take out the trash. And to me, I was like, oh my god, is the trash bag gone? Like, is Luke in the apartment? Did Luke signal to her that he's in the apartment? Like, he took the trash out? What is happening? Well, what actually happens is she and Luke have a like built-in fail-safe system where she takes the trash out every single day at 12 on the dot. And if she doesn't take out the trash, then he knows that she's not safe. So when she doesn't take the trash out, he knows something is wrong, and he tells Ryan. They're like doing work stuff together. And so Ryan gets back up, and Luke starts driving like a maniac to get to the apartment. And when I say maniac, this guy, 2 fucking blocks away from their house, blows through a red light and gets hit by an 18-wheeler. Hello? Right arm broken. He's bleeding everywhere, profusely from his face. He can barely get out of his car, but he just gets out and starts running, sprinting to get to Salone. He has to jump a gate, and he falls on his bad arm, because of course he does. We have to be dramatic. And he gets to their apartment, which, by the way, is on the ground level, which is like safety rule number 1. Don't live on the ground floor of an apartment complex. If you're a single woman, or if you're trying to be extra safe, don't live on the ground floor. Live on the 2nd or 3rd floor. What are we doing? Like, you're, again, the worst police work ever. Worst, like, I'm not getting into it. Anyway, so he gets up to the window that's open, and he hears Asa laughing, and he looks inside, and he puts his gun between the blinds, and Salone dives down because she sees it. She's like, oh, I dropped my fork, and bends down, and he shoots Asa. He comes inside, he shoots Asa again, kills him. Asa is finally dead. She is finally free. But this moment of joy, this moment of freedom, this moment of weight being lifted off of her shoulders is ruined because she realizes that Luke has a broken arm. And so Ryan's like, oh my god, dude, oh my god. So they go to like call for medics, and he says gibberish. He says a gibberish sentence to her. And so Ryan thinks he's got a fin concussion. And I'm like, what are we... It's just so, like, it just kills the entire mood. Saying, I'm going to look it up so that I can tell you this stupid fucking sentence. Just a little fender bender. You can't drown in fed water if the cruise ship is full of salmon tacos. I ended my note in the book. And I stand by it. So the epilogue. Luke and Salone go to Asa's funeral. They are the only ones at his funeral. And Salone leans over the casket and she says, Asa, you had a lot of potential, but you spent every day of your life expecting the world to repay you for a few really shitty years that you were dealt as a child. That's where you went wrong. The world doesn't owe us a thing. We take what we're given and we make the most of it. But you took what you were given and you shit on it and expected more. There were no flowers, so she bent down and picked up a dandelion, placing it on top of his casket. And then, in a quiet whisper, she said, every child deserves love, Asa. I'm sorry that you were never loved. For that, I forgive you. We both do. We both, referring to her and her baby, his baby. 7 months later, the book ends with Luke reflecting on the paternity of this child and reiterating that the paternity doesn't matter. In showing that it doesn't matter, he throws away a paternity test that Salone bought him. She bought it right after she had the baby in case he ever changed his mind and did want to know, and it just stayed in the closet for those 7 months or however long. It wouldn't have been 7 months. It would have been like less than that. So I don't understand the math here. He throws it away as the final, I'm in it and I'm the child's father. And that's the book. What a crazy ride. What a horrible ride. What a stupid fucking ride. Sorry, I probably said the F-bomb as much as Salone, or not Salone, I probably said the F-bomb as much as Asa did this review. And I'm okay with that. Because it deserved it. Because this was so dumb. So what are my thoughts? Like, what's the final thing? Like I said, premise of it, interesting. Love the idea. Horrible execution. Really poorly written quality-wise. Again, with the short chapters, the very basic short sentence structures. I get why it's popular. If this is all you read, I could see why you like it, right? And I don't mean to shit on anybody who enjoys this book. I just know that there's such better quality stuff out there that it's painful to read this. It's so hollow. The characters were shallow. I couldn't tell you a single thing about Luke other than he's 25 and he has a mom. I guess I found out in chapter like 50. I couldn't tell you a thing. Well, I know Asa had abusive parents and he did drugs, but what else about Asa? Is there anything else? Is there anything else about Sloane? She got beat a lot and she was sad. I don't even know what she was going to school for. I don't even know what she wanted to be. I didn't even know she liked cooking until chapter 50 in this book. Where's Steven? Is he okay? They're such hollow characters that, again, like I said earlier, it just feels like we're just trauma dumping and like with zero benefit or consideration of the people who you are writing about or of the people that would identify with the people that you're writing about, that I find, again, morally disgusting, and I don't agree with it, and it makes me not like Colleen Hoover. It makes me not like her at all. If you're going to write something like this, right? If you're going to write a novel based on domestic abuse and based off of mental health issues and drug use, there better be an acknowledgement or something at the end that says the whole, hey, none of what happened was appropriate. If you identify with anything that you saw in here, here's some help. Here's some hotlines. Here's some whatever. I'm aware this was written in 2012 and 2016, and so times were a little bit different and expectations of authors was a little bit different. I just want some accountability for your actions and for the examples that you're setting for people, and just to have like a very clear-cut acknowledgement and statements that what you're writing about is wrong. Right? And she kind of did on this one. At least she opened this book with a proper trigger warning list and with the acknowledgement that this is dark and edgy and it might be hard to stomach. But I feel like that should also be clarified when you're writing something like this that, again, you know is going to go to millions of people. Now, again, she might not have known that in 2016. I get that. But she kind of did when she had her Facebook group thing or her Wattpad thing and she saw all the engagement that it was getting. You can republish editions. I would hope that there's a newly published edition that has these extra additives to it now that she is famous, and now that she would hopefully be more aware and more conscious of the things that she's putting out into the universe and out into the masses. But I don't think that that's happening. I think this is all validated in the press junket that she's had for It Ends With Us. There is a complete disconnect of like what she is writing and the severity of those topics. It's like she's like writing this like fun thing, this like, I don't get it. I don't understand that disconnect. Unfathomable to me that I just don't get. I don't get it. I don't get the appeal. I don't get what people like about this bit. I don't get it at all. And I won't say that about her. I will say it about her personally. Like her personally is who is on the forefront of this press junket for It Ends With Us. And her personally is who is doing these like flower pop-up things rather than donating money to women's shelters or like trying to, again, raise awareness. Where is like the one press out there that is just like, hey, here's an example of an abusive relationship, even if it's like a very minor version of this, like you deserve better and you deserve to be happy, da 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 da. It doesn't exist. It's just throwing dog shit out into the ether. For as much as she thinks that her readers are fucking stupid and spells out stuff to them, she doesn't spell out solutions for the problems that she identifies. And she doesn't spell out solutions or recommendations or ways to be better and do better and have a better life. Help people be better. Help people be happy. Don't just give examples of shitty relationships and leave it at that. Like, that's, like, I just don't like it, dude. That's all. That's my rant. That's the end of it. It's just frustrating and it just makes me so sad. With that, I'm going to say this at the end of this video. I kind of had this thought today, and this is just a little bit of a side thing. As much shit as I am going to be talking, and as I have talked about Lucy Score and Colleen Hoover for writing abusive relationships and not doing anything about it, I think it would be the pot calling the kettle black if I don't. So if this channel ever does get like monetized in any way, I hope you guys understand that a large chunk of that will be donated to like various organizations to help women and to help people that are in abusive situations and to help, I don't know, all sorts of things, right? Like, I'm not in this channel to really like make a whole bunch of money on it. Obviously, I'm just here for funsies. But if it gets to the point of this channel ever making money, I will be donating a significant amount of it. I think that that is the only proper thing to do. If you have enough of a platform to be making money on the internet, I also hope that you have enough morals to be doing something good with that reach that you have. That's all. That's all, folks. I'll catch you on the flip side. Thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. I am having such a good time. I know it doesn't seem like it when I read these bad books, but it gives me a chance to talk about some really, really serious topics, and it gives me a chance to have some fun. As miserable as I am having fun. So thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking and hanging out with me. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.